All right, we're getting ready. We're getting ready. Here we come. All right, let's get started. Let me turn this off and open this thing or whatever. And there we go. And this is open. This has got this thing. I'm going to get my stuff in order. Yeah, okay. Instagram is on. We're up. We're fantastic. Look at that little got merch thing that's happening right there. I recommend it. I think it's a good idea. I'm just saying we got a couple of options merch wise that are pretty darn hot. Okay, where's the button that starts this thing? By God, I don't have one. I'm just gonna have to hand click myself. Hi, how are you, everybody? Welcome to the show. Good to see you. What was that? Hang on one second. What is that? Why do I have a thing flying through? Oh, I'm okay. That that thing on. That's just like a robot. I see. Okay. No, I don't want to save that. Wait. I'll be back on in a second. Yeah, this is much better. Hold on. Yes, welcome to the show. Hello, everyone. This is the problem when I have too many things flying all at once. I'm just saying. Uh, mic's on. Everything's good. All right, good. Hi. Welcome to the show, everybody. We have a lot to cover today. It's just so much I want to. First of all, I want to say hi, chat room. Let me see if the chat room is firing on all cylinders. Hello. Good to see you, chat room. Welcome to Spaceship Lunatic, where we stop by a coffee bean by Alpha Centauri just to get a little tea to soothe the throat and the rest of ourselves, to calm ourselves, in the face of the madness that's all around us, and the rending of garments, and the uh, gnashing of teeth. Yeah. Um, the shades are acting weird. They are. They're a little glitchy today. I'm sorry. It's Tuesday. That's right. It's not a. It is a Super Tuesday. It's pretty. As Tuesdays go, it's pretty good. I'm just saying. I hope everybody voted today that votes on Super Tuesday. I did. Um, love you, Hal, too. Don't forget to hit that like right away. It helps us out immensely during this. I did survive the fires both in Texas and in China. We're fine. Holy shit. Like, I need to do another episode about the Chinese economy very soon, because it's gone from worse to what the fuck. Yeah. I can't even get into it, or it will be a deep dive, and we will be here all evening. And there you have it. So hi, and please, well, thank you. Welcome to the show. Also, I've made new lower thirds for myself and everyone on that's a guest on the show on the regular. So I spent some time making little things for everybody who comes on. This is what I do when I'm sitting on a plane with my laptop, waiting for trying to finish these things before the lady comes by and goes, "Can you put that under your seat for landing? Thank you." China money. Um, so right out, we have a bunch of stuff. By the way, we have a bunch of stuff to cover today. I gotta say, and probably should I leave these glasses on, or are they just too irritating? Are they annoying? I like this one too. This one will work good. Just in case if I have any problems, like if I just can't take it anymore, this is what's going to happen to my head. That's from now on. Just get used to the idea. If I can't handle it anymore, this is what happens to my head. The other one's better. Okay, good. I hope so. Can't deal with it. Nope. If I'm glitching out, this is what's causing it. All right, hold on. We'll get back in 1 second. All right, now back to where we were. Okay, show time. Let's do it now. Like, subscribe, etc. Patreon.com/HalSparks. Thank you guys so much. Help us keep the show sustained and alive and real and all that fun stuff. And why are my little screen things way over here? I apologize to everybody on Instagram if at any point I switch screens and it goes cattywampus, because I think I have them aligned, but it could go very bad. don't know. So, first up, this one jumped out of me right away. This first clip's relatively short, but it's our lovely friends over at the Five or at Gutfeld's own show. I forget, whatever. This is all right. This is their question. Should patriotism be enforced? This is the title of this one. There's Gutfeld. Should patriotism be enforced? Gutfeld. I'm hoping he says no, because if it's forced, it's not patriotism. You see what I mean? It's kind of like when you allow someone to wear a particular hat or headdress for their religion to show it's a good thing. And if you make them, and if they don't wear it, you kill them or beat them or jail them, it's a bad thing. See, it's not about the hat. It's about the who and the why and the what for. Okay, let's see what they say. I don't hope for much.
Story in 5 words. Melvin, stand for the anthem. I love this story, mainly
I love it.
because it's not in front of me and I have to look.
Also, they're employees. It's different. Yeah. Because you're responsible for the look of the team and that kind of stuff. So you're a team player. If you're going to be a team player, we're all going to stand for the anthem. That's how it's going to work. And if you don't have to, it's obviously not mandatory at other teams, but a team is a privately owned thing. So whatever. Yeah, it's as much about the image of the team as anything else.
For it. Okay, Kat, I'm going to go to you because you know why?
Oh dear.
You love sports. San Francisco.
I think that's a joke about her being skinny and tiny, or just not giving a shit about sports. It's I don't know why, but he always has this kind of creepy way of shitting.
Giants manager Bob Melvin, best name ever, has implemented a new team policy requiring all players to stand during the national anthem. Should patriotism... Oh, thank you.
So we know how the audience landed.
Okay. I'm going to ask you, Kat, if patriotism should be enforced, but I want to mind you that if this was introduced by Giants manager Bob Melvin, he probably likes this show. So he's probably watching.
Is that why we're doing this story?
Yes.
Oh, fuck. Say the quiet part out loud. Way to screw it up for everyone.
I'm a Giants fan. He was backup catcher when I was a Giants fan. He's like, he never really made it as a pro.
He's their newest hire.
He's their newest hire. That is true. Bob Melvin. And this is the first thing. Isn't that kind of rebellious to do this in San Francisco?
It is probably the most rebellious thing you can do in San Francisco.
Yes. Yeah.
Which is
Nah. No.
why I think it's so interesting. Isn't it like an attempt at a rebrand for
Maybe.
Yes.
for San Francisco? Because I feel like it's very one of these things is not like the other. I mean,
Yeah.
I feel like you're going to have to go a little further. I think that people are concerned about San Francisco for a lot of reasons.
Gee, it couldn't possibly be that your entire network demonizes the place all the time.
I feel like the way he said, you know, I don't intend for this to be political, which I feel like for most people it isn't, but for the people sometimes who want to make it very political, it is. I think it'll be interesting to see if anything happens,
Yeah.
or if actually nothing happens at all. And if nothing happens,
Yeah, it's very exciting. Thanks. Way to take the story that really isn't anything and make it even more less anything.
at all, that will be so interesting.
You know, it's even more interesting if he watches and says, hey, you know, I get a lot of extra free tickets to the games, and I really like that Gutfeld guy. I could throw out the first pitch. I could.
If only somehow he knew.
Yes, yes, yes. So you often sleep in dugouts, usually high school baseball fields.
It's good, keeps the rain off you.
Yeah, exactly.
While you're waiting to hop a train down to Tuna Town.
I'm not even going to pretend to know what that means. I think he was just trying desperately to, I think, move the weird insult comedy moment from Greg out of the pedophile zone. That seems sort of right. Am I reading this correctly? That he threw this weird, like, you're trying to fuck teenagers at a high school, like a hobo with a sexual assault record, maybe.
I think this is just San Francisco.
Yeah.
I think that's how bad crime is. He's like, everybody get up, stand up. We'll pretend it's for the national anthem. But like, shots might be fired. We might have to run out of here. They're replacing this.
Yeah, San Francisco doesn't have a gun crime issue.
7th inning stretch with the 7th inning. Go see if my car's still there. They got.
They don't steal cars; they break into them. I mean, it's get your city straight for it. I mean, San Francisco. Nobody steals cars in San Francisco because where would you park?
At the end of the game, you have the buddy walk back to your car to make sure you don't step on a needle or human poop. It's all kinds of stuff. I think this is great. I love it when teams stand for the national anthem. Everybody, and honestly, that's our nation's anthem. And it's, if standing is too hard, then you don't need a job.
Yeah.
You don't need to play.
If standing is too hard, you don't need a job. Well,
Baseball.
Hey, you don't stand with the national anthem. Go back to your country you came from. You.
Yeah, he's doing an impersonation of what, Fox viewers?
Why are you trying to start a moral panic?
Emily, you're from the Bay Area.
First of all, bravo, obviously. And then secondly, what I love about this is this.
Did they cut out something? Because she was like, cut out what he said to me, because that response was, I was like, fuck you. Also, green dress alert.
Coincides with the new uniforms that are see-through pants.
Oh, that's
it's,
right.
Right? It's hilarious. So, of course,
they
my first thought was like...
Yeah, they stand up, and now you can see all of it.
And then thirdly, that it sort of reminded me of after Budweiser had the fiasco, where after
Bud Light.
Dylan Mulvaney failed, then they were like, let's get the, most muscly horse, like everything. Who can we have in the bar that's going to rally the troops again? Because the manager before him, as we know, is the one that had no problem screaming to the head. Yeah, exactly. Yes, thank you.
You know everything.
Love baseball.
You know what recidivism means.
No, I don't.
What do you make of this? Do you think he's just stirring the pot? He says it's to show the other teams that they're ready to play.
What I like about Bob Melvin is he's not afraid to do what's right. He focuses on everything but winning. Won Coach of the Year with the A's, didn't win crap. They buy everybody for the Padres.
Yeah, this is going off the rails. This is, yeah, this. It was my fault. It's my fault. I actually thought they would kind of have a moment where they addressed sort of their ethical feelings about it or something. Yes, I know DB Golding, but the issue was with the Tuna Town thing. It's a high school dugout was the thing. That's why it was gross and whatever. Anyways, yeah, waste of time. Okay, sorry about that. I bored myself on that one. They got filled. You prove once again why you're the #1 show on Fox, because that's the standard. That's how it goes. All right, next up, Donald Trump was down at the border, and was it Hannity that interviewed him? And I gotta say, this is some rough lighting for his pores. I don't know whether it's sweat, because okay, sometimes, full disclosure, as a man who's worn makeup for work quite often, there's a thing where you're wearing they pat you down with powder and that kind of stuff, and they don't like kind of seal it right, or they have a powder that's too clumpy, and you sweat, and then it just basically congeals in your pores and creates this kind of like bumpy pock look. Now, if your skin's okay, it doesn't really stand out. It just doesn't look optimal. But if you have gnarly skin, it looks like it's gross. It's fucking gross. It's really gross. And I gotta just like the woof. You think everybody's like, no, that's just his face. All right, maybe so. But this is him on Hannity talking about the border and how Biden is losing his mind, because this is the one thing that is freaking Trump out right now.
Welcome back to Hannity. We are broadcasting live tonight from Shelby Park in Eagle Pass. We are in.
Yeah, it's a fucking. I could tell it's a total invasion. Who wouldn't bring the actual like candidate for one party who will do the most about the border down to a place that's it's an invasion. Look behind him. Dear God, they're right in the heart of it. It's unbelievable. All times of the day, people, military age men storming across the border. Would it be I'm just saying, tactically, it seems like a bad idea. I don't know if the Secret Service would sign off on it. If there was actually an invasion, it's right there. I mean, that's another country. There are cartels over there. We know this for a fact. If they just decided to snipe this dumbass, it'd be on you, right? So clearly we have control of both sides of the border, I guess. All right. But or everything they're saying could be bullshit. That's also a possibility. I'm just going to float that as well. That he knows he has nothing to be afraid of because
the state of Texas, the free state of Texas. Still with us for an exclusive interview is former President Donald J. Trump. We've talked a lot about the border, the number one issue. Let me move on to some other issues.
Mm-hmm. So apparently that part of the border is not an issue over here. This business over here. Good Lord. I mean, I can't hear you over the sound of the stampeding hordes of military-aged men.
Probably more than anybody else, I picked up that Joe Biden, this is before the 2020 election, is weak and...
Oh, this is Hannity's been hanging on this idea that Joe Biden is old and doddering.
Frail and a cognitive mess. And I would say in the last 3+ years, he has deteriorated greatly. I want to play a montage of the president. Take a look.
I guess I should clear my mind here a little bit and not say what I'm really thinking.
Okay, by the way, these are hiding context. These are moments when he's asked a particularly difficult question that entail both talking points they can't talk about and a moving set of details at the moment. That moment right there was had to do, I think, with the Hamas the hostage exchange and that kind of stuff. And they're in the middle of negotiating this stuff. So he's like, and then or it might have been the one about Trump or whatever. But the point is, he's like, I don't want to swear. Is the gag like? My first instinct is to get real fucking Irish real quick.
There's some movement. There's been a response from this
was in the middle of the Hamas stuff.
From the opposition, but yes, I'm sorry, from Hamas. I think that, as you know, initially the president of Mexico, Sisi, did not want to open up the gate. When I said, we pushed all these programs, I said I'm going to be a president for everybody, whether you live in a red state or a green state.
Red state, green state, and President El Sisi of Mexico.
Well, from a climate standpoint,
I would be Egypt the last time I checked. Mr. President,
Mr. President, what's the name of the guy that really likes you in Hungary?
What is your reaction to that? 86% of the American people believe he is too old to take on what is the hardest job in the world.
It's interesting, though, all those folks that think he's too old to do the job. Notice that there's not he's morally corrupt or stupid or vengeful or reactionary. And that's not the issue they have with him. They might think he's too slow on the uptake to deal with something. That's the age issue. But for the record, none of it are like the character defects that Trump has. And also, I don't suppose Sean Hannity is going to play a series of Trump statements at some point, do we think?
Don't touch my hands because they're dirty.
Do things with his tongue you wouldn't believe it. Purge the anti-Semitism and pro-terrorism. What you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
Free health care for illegal... look, action replays in magnified fortune.
Mm-hmm. Any of that
Christopher Columbus. Christopher. Huh?
Michigan gave us Motown. Gave us Motown. Gave us the Mustang.
Mm-hmm. That you're not gonna play a montage of that, are you, Sean?
Well, I hate to hear when they use the word old, because I don't believe it's old. I know people that are 87, 88. I know people that are 90 in the 90s.
I know people 99.
I mean, Bernie Marcus as an example. He's 95. There are people that are just as sharp, it seems to me, just as sharp as they ever were. There's something, I guess, wrong. I don't want to, I feel I'm at a conflict when you ask me that question, because
I'm losing my mind. And what was the question?
We're opponents, and I don't know. It's a tough question to answer.
Is it?
Here I am like an idiot.
I was a private business people. Even brought a safecracker.
I've been involved in the two greatest scams in American history.
Why would it be hard?
We're going to be appointing very pro-crime judges.
Why would it be difficult?
The Burmese executives. So these Burmese, they say, pronounce it Burmese.
Yeah. Why would it be difficult?
Here I am like an idiot.
It's easy, the answer, but I don't like doing it. He's got some difficulty, but it's not the age, because I know a lot of people that are much older than him that are 100% sharp, and I think most people agree with that.
100% sharp.
I don't believe he'd be capable of sitting down to do an interview like this. It'd be when I
believe he could
debated
do
Gavin
this
Newsom,
interview.
I said, your problem is the guy that you are bragging about could not have this exchange.
He could not do this interview. He couldn't do it.
Well, here's the thing. Also, he wouldn't sit down with Sean Hannity because Sean Hannity is a hostile asshole who's pumping for this guy. So not exactly a real interview. Secondly, I'm not looking for a guy who's necessarily great at speeches or necessarily great at interviews. I like the guy's decision making and his ability to get shit done. Fuck me, but as a human being and as an American, I'm not looking for a messiah. I'm looking for a leader. And the leader I don't need an emotional leader or a spiritual leader. I don't need somebody to make my fucking heart swell by doing stuff. I need him to lead in getting shit done. And he does. He's competent. It's kind of amazing. There's almost a trade-off between somebody who is a good orator or who can lead people in that regard and people who actually can work the fucking phones and get a goddamn bill passed. Because this dude was bragging about the size of his rallies. So was Sean Hannity. They were like on and on and on about that shit. And yet when it came to trying to get an infrastructure bill passed, he couldn't fucking do it. The only way he got the tax cut passed that he had was because it was already on Mitch McConnell's desk and all he had to do was fucking sign it once they passed it. It wasn't even his fucking idea. Don't get me started on the goddamn CHIPS Act.
An interview where you ask even a few questions. And I said this morning, I say it loud and clear, he should take a cognitive test. A president should take a cognitive. Now, they say that's unconstitutional. For whatever reason, it's unconstitutional. But I took 2 of them, and...
Okay, real quick. The type of cognitive test he took, that whole person, woman, man, camera, TV shit, remember that? Okay. The 5 words they ask you to remember that are all 5 words have to be in different categories. So one would be like you could say man as the first one, but the next one would have to be an animal. The third thing would have to be a vehicle. The fourth thing would have to be a building. The fifth thing would have to be a continent, right? Okay, and so they would ask you, and they have to be different. They're never the same category. Look up the test, the one that he actually took. They're never the same category. And yet, when he talks about it, person, woman, man, camera, TV. Person, woman, and man are in one category. They're the same fucking thing. Men and women are persons. It's about human beings. Same 3 fucking categories, right? Same category, 3 items. And then camera, TV, also in the same fucking category. They're both AV elements. They're too close. That's not what was on his goddamn test. Even when he recited it, he was wrong about it entirely. There would never be a situation where you take that kind of cognitive test and they ask you for 3 items in one category and 2 items in a second one. Unless, I guess technically speaking, unless they were trying to help you and they were like, he likes these 2. He could, basically that should be easy. If we ask him about a bunch of different shit, he'll get all over the place. So if we just give him 2 categories and he can stay within them and I can wink at him It will stay there. But that's true. Just for the record. It was whatever the fuck his test was, it was not. The answer was not person, woman, man, camera, TV. It wasn't. That's not how it works.
I aced both of them. I'm
No, you didn't.
very proud to say, meaning I got it all right. And that,
Oh, is that just in case Hannity doesn't know what aced means?
they're not, Ronnie Jackson did one. They're not that easy. You know, they show
Oh, dear.
you the first ones are pretty easy. And then you get into the middle category. Then you get to the end questions. And very few people could answer those questions. They're very
No, they're not. Fuck, this is the kind of shit they ask you if you've been hit in the head with a shovel or you wake up from a fucking coma. What are you talking about? This is not an IQ test, dipshit. It's a cognitive test. It's pretty simple. As a matter of fact, they keep it simple so that they don't demoralize elderly people. I'm not kidding. Some of the questions are easy strictly so that people, like older people, are like, I'm losing it. I'm starting to worry. Don't worry as much because it can create a downward spiral. They're easy on purpose.
they're actually very tough.
I've seen the test.
But I think
I've seen the test. You mean the one with the picture of the elephant? What were you doing, Sean? Flipping through a copy of highlights for kids?
it's important that there be some form. We have this man negotiating nuclear weapons with Putin and with
No, he's not. Okay, first of all, nuclear treaties. Let's just start there. Nobody's negotiating nuclear weapons. They're not arguing design points. What the fuck is that? He says this a bunch of times too. No one's negotiating nuclear weapons. You're negotiating nuclear treaties or nuclear arms treaties or non-proliferation treaties, which is really what you should fucking say. All right, maybe am I nitpicking? But seriously, we're talking about a cognitive test, and this motherfucker thinks Joe Biden is negotiating nuclear arms.
we have this man negotiating nuclear weapons with Putin and with
You know what? I made it actually accidentally better. I said arms instead of weapons.
President Xi, and he has no idea what's going on.
Why don't you tell him? You talked to him about it, right? Obviously. You talked to him about it, right? You mentioned it. You had a conversation with Xi Jinping. You were close with Putin. You guys talked nuclear weapons. What pointers would you give him about it? Oh, I'm sorry. You didn't actually discuss any of this shit with either one of them, or when you did, you had a fist up your ass.
And he can't find his way off a platform when he's speaking. You have 5 stairs, and he ends up walking into a wall. And
by the way, that's how you know Trump is afraid he's going to walk into a wall. One of his current panic points is you can tell he kind of grinds on that thing where, remember when George Bush was leaving a stage and the door was locked and he went like that, which was, in that moment, that's how you save yourself. That's it. Just say it for the record. That's how you save yourself, is you make a stupid face and you go, oh, look at me, I'm a dumbass. You don't go, this door was open a while ago. I was just checking to make sure it was locked.
whenever I imitate him, they say Trump had a hard time getting off a platform. I do every once in a while. I'll do things out of sarcasm because I love sarcasm, but
yes, it's what idiots have instead of a sense of humor.
Politically, it never works.
Also,
because
what the fuck do you mean sarcasm? What are you being sarcastic about? Okay, first of all, imitating someone who's doddering and walking around like this or whatever, that's not sarcasm. It's physical comedy, is it, or an attempt at it, but it's not fucking sarcasm. It's just fucking weird. The other thing is juxtaposing someone else's name on purpose, especially without context, where you're saying, where he says Obama and when he means Biden and he tries to pretend he really meant to say Obama the whole time without going, or the real president, Barack Hussein Obama, here I am. You guys think I'm competing against Biden. I'm really, in a campaign against Obama. You'd say it, you'd set up the gag. And then throughout the speech, you could keep referring to it. But if you just do it apropos of fucking nothing in the middle of it and then move on as if it never happened, people know you fucking flubbed. Sarcasm will not buy your way out of that.
Was turning around on you. But I'll tell you what.
I'd like to remind everyone also that Sean Hannity was asking him about Joe Biden's cognitive ability, and he just bragged about 2 cognitive exams that he took that are, again, a third grader could take. And his big, he just starts to ramble into this area where Sean Hannity's going, fuck, all you had to do was say, yeah, he's not what he used to be. Anyways, but I think it's what's important for America is turn into policy.
It's not an age thing, but something's going on. And we can't take a chance. This is the most dangerous time in the history of the world. We have an incompetent president. Now,
is this the most dangerous time in the history of our war or our world?
This is the most dangerous time in the history of the world. We have an incompetent...
Of a war. Our world, a war. This is what we would call phonemic paraphasia, which is a phrase we've all gotten to learn because of this dumb motherfucker, where he swaps words that sound vaguely alike all the time and just either doesn't notice or notices but can't fix it and just moves on.
President. Now, I used to treat him, and you know that. I called you. I said, you should take it easy on him. I used to call you.
This is a true story. You thought I was being too hard on him, and I was making too light of it. You told me.
When I got indicted, because nobody thought that was going to happen, including the fake news on the left.
Right. But they didn't think it wasn't going to happen because it shouldn't happen. They didn't think it was going to happen because it should happen, and what the fuck?
He said he'll never be indicted. Like on the January 6th, they went right up until the end. They'll never be indicted. You can't indict him on that. I made the beautiful speech that was actually a very nice speech. I said...
Uh-huh. That one where you're gonna walk down there peacefully and patriotically, but if Mike Pence doesn't have the strength to do the right thing, you're gonna have to be strong or we won't have a country left. That whole, like, basically, don't fight until you see the whites of their eyes speech.
Wonderful things on then Twitter, now Truth, because Truth is better than anything, in my opinion, but everybody has to go on Truth.
Did I read that you might make $4 billion?
Well, I'm not going to make. I mean, I own something that became very valuable. Truth has really become sort of the voice of America, the real voice of America.
Yeah, you know how you can tell is you can buy those like Trump catheters on there or those Trump gold coins that are, you know, obviously just gold plated, but still they're one of a kind, and there's only going to be a few of them made, so you better buy them now, or they're going to run out. Or you know, Trump what's it, like insurance, which he has nothing to do with and isn't actually insurance. It's perfect. Like I think the ads on, well, shit. Should we just grab some real quick? Hold on. While we're at it, and by the way, hi chat room, real quick. I just want to see if I can, hold on. Truth Social. Open this guy up right here, and then we go to. Let's see, where is his? I have to go straight to his account because it'll send me to the sign up page. There it is. Yeah, but yeah, there you go. Go back to here. Go back to the thing. Okay, there we go. I'll show you. Let's see. Here's a Truth ad. See if one of them comes up. That's good. The money's really flowing in. Truth ads, sponsored Truth. It's great. Looks good. There's Orban. Trump needs your vote today. Find your vote. Okay, that's the campaigns ads. Why are the ads? I have ad blocker on. That's why. Shit. Okay, hold on. Copy. And then I got to go up here, and I have to open another page over here, and then I'll do this, and then I'll paste it into here. Like trying to look at the actual ads, and the only thing I can't actually see them because it's. There you go. MAGA. I don't even know what the fuck that is. Do we dare? Eagle Pass, Texas.
Every day, Joe Biden is giving aid and comfort to the foreign enemies of the United States.
The United States. And he waves at him.
3 years ago, we were more respected than ever before, and now they have no respect for us whatsoever.
Who, the cartels?
Day one of my administration.
Yeah, he's waving. Why are you showing him waving at the people? He's waving at like the Mexican army and the cartel guys. While no one is crossing the border.
I will terminate every open border policy of the Biden administration, and we will begin to...
So do they think if they turn the music up really loud, I don't know, if they turn up really loud, he doesn't sound like he's slurring as much, or... All right, maybe the ads are just down. Shit. I thought it was because I had ad blocker on, but apparently not. Look at this. Information. What's this? Why am I seeing this ad? I'm not seeing this ad. What the fuck? Yeah, see all this his shit. What's this? Truth ads. What's this? There you go. Truth. No posts here. Shit, are they all down or something? That's fucking hilarious. I love it. High quality, right about the time. I guess they're ready to make some real money, eh, chat room? Good Lord. Okay, back to where we were.
And it's what I use exclusively, and it's doing...
Because you're contracted to, dumb fuck.
Doing great.
And it's not. He also put exclusive interview with former President Trump. Well, that's true. They actually said it. Also, he legally has to use Truth Social only, but he also posts everything he does on his Telegram channel. For I suppose because Putin wants to read it, but doesn't want to look at the fucking video posts.
But when you take a look at all
Truth Social,
all of the things that are going on in this world now,
all of them, that's going to be exhausting.
We need a man who's super competent. We need a man that can do it. He doesn't have a clue. When they indicted me, I said, now I can go after him because.
So you basically, let me get this straight. After the election, you could have had a deal with the Iranians to get rid of their nuclear weapons within 2 weeks, but you said, fuck it. If I'm not going to win the election, I hope everybody here dies in a nuclear war. And so you blew off the idea, even though you were president for another couple months, you blew off the idea of doing your fucking job so that Iran could get a nuclear weapon. And then after this, you were like, Joe Biden is totally incompetent, and he's dangerous, and he's going to get us into World War IX, and it's scary, and it's because he's got this cognitive ability. But I'm not going to bring it up because I think it's not nice, or I don't know. At some point, you're going to take it personally or some shit like that. But now that he's indicted me, now I'll warn America about him as a danger cognitively. Get the fuck out of here.
This is what he did, and he indicted me 4 times.
He didn't indict you at all.
You could take the worst criminals in the world, they haven't.
Oh dear.
Been indicted 4 times.
Well, that's because most of them didn't go on multi-state crime sprees. They were kind of localized. They only had to do 1 indictment for all 9 victims.
And I got indicted over nonsense, over pure nonsense, that the radical left said there's no way he's going to be in, like the thing in Manhattan. And why didn't they do it years ago? They should.
Jesus Christ. I would like to remind everybody, this started with Hannity asking him about his cognitive ability, about Biden's cognitive ability, and him bragging that he passed a cognitive test, and now he's like, and then if fucking indicts me, and then like they have these people coming in, and I don't even know what's going on. Like, just like, psst, wrap it up.
Should have done this years ago. They shouldn't have done it now right in the middle of an election. I don't even think if you look at DOJ, the rules and regulation, they don't even have the right to be doing it now. But they
apparently they do.
They did it to interfere with the election. And when he did that, I said, now I can say it. Joe Biden is the most incompetent president we've ever had. He's the worst president we've ever had.
And you said that before.
He is a true threat to democracy because he's weaponized the FBI and the DOJ to go get.
Okay. By threat to democracy, he means threat to him.
Get his political opponent and many other people.
Yeah, many other people. I mean, most of them, lawbreakers, but...
Christians. He's really after the Catholics. I don't know what's going on with the Catholics, but for some reason, there's something happening with the Catholics.
I don't know. I hear Catholics. I don't know. He is a Catholic, you dumb motherfucker. the Christians. I mean, I'm not one of these people. Like, I got to point out the fact that he says Christians as an externalized label. You know, in this situation, if you were really trying to turn inwards, and a bunch of other right-wingers do, they go, as a Christian, I'm offended the way he's attacking Christians, and I'm not a Catholic, but I have Catholic friends, and how there's, like you would kind of incorporate yourself into it a little bit, but he's totally incapable of it. Meanwhile, Sean Hannity is sitting there like, Sean Hannity is sitting there going, fuck, what did I do? Why the fuck did I do this?
I mean, I don't know how they can possibly vote for a Democrat or for him, but he's weaponized government at a level that nobody's ever seen before outside of a third world country.
Let me ask you, you actually said something to me before we came on the air today.
So you guys chat, do you?
Because the left
I would love to, Boston Brian.
I say, oh, he's going to be seeking revenge and using the justice.
Oh, don't fucking try to bail him out again, asshole, because you didn't learn your lesson from the dictator shit last time? Are you just trying to bait him and going, fuck, yeah, absolutely, I'm going to revenge. I'll be vengeful on one day, just one day, and we'll just wipe out all of my enemies, and then I'll stop. Get the fuck out of here.
Barbara, and I've talked at length at how you want to talk about the weaponization of justice. It is happening now in this country.
That's a real threat.
And
Totally. Yeah, it's true. It is a real threat to, I mean, I'm worried that I won't be able to, I don't know, cheat the government banks out of hundreds of millions of dollars. And if that's the case, then what hope do any of us have?
that is a real threat. And you gave a very interesting answer about the issue that, he would seek revenge. Recall what you just said to me?
Sean, he doesn't. I'm just going to tell you. You got to set him up a little better than that, dum-dum. Oi.
I use this, and I tell people this. My revenge is going to be success. We're going to make this country so successful. We're going to do it rapidly. We're going to bring energy way down. We're going to bring inflation way down. We're going to get prices down. You look at the cost of...
Yeah, how? I'll tell you how. You want to know how? First of all, he's not going to get energy way down. What he thinks he means is down to like, $40 a barrel or some shit like that. We're well past that. The only way you can do that is through raising efficiency standards in the United States. He's not going to do that. Secondly, I got to say we'll see. Yeah. Essentially, he's just talking about like either crashing the economy by insisting that the Fed or forcing the Fed to lower interest rates to a ridiculous amount so he can borrow money to pump it into the economy, which is what he tried to do to bail himself out in 2020. But on top of that, he's going to, we're going to sign another deal with China, get cheap shit flowing from there over here again, and fuck it, worrying about slave labor. We're going to drop all of our concerns about slave labor everywhere, and therefore those standards will not be a method through ESG or any other way where investors can know whether a company is engaged in anti-labor practices and that kind of stuff, or engages in the use of slave labor. We'll just knock that off. So stop looking, that kind of thing. And I guess, technically speaking, he's going to undo all the CHIPS Act stuff that Biden put in place. That would be the only way you would do it. Basically, it's one of those things like being in a plane. Everybody, you're the pilot of the plane, and you're like, look, the goal is to get it on the ground. How we get it on the ground doesn't matter. As long as it's on the ground, that's what he would do.
Food, you look at the cost of rent, you look at the costs of some of these things, it's just, really disables our country.
You said, I'd never do to...
It really disables the country. By the way, and this was not what he said to Hannity, and Hannity's going to tell him what he said. Dumb fuck. You asked him to repeat what he just said before the show about a particular talking point like you do with any other guest, and he couldn't fucking do it.
It's just, really disables our country.
You said, I'd never do to them what they've done to me, that you...
See? He tried to bail him. He's doing it again. That's what I fucking say. He's trying to bail him out. He's like, you wouldn't be a dictator on day one, and you told me you wouldn't be vengeful towards them the way they are to you. Remember when you said that?
I'll let you pick it up.
I'll let you pick it up because he didn't remember it. He didn't know what the fuck he's talking about. And I would, God, please, this. All right, I don't want to put anything on it. I want to see what he actually answers because my personal feeling is that when it comes out of his own mouth, he thinks it's cool and sounds magnanimous and like it makes him a big person. But when Sean Hannity says it, it sounds weak all of a sudden, right?
Be tough, and I will be fair, and I will be seeking to make America great again. You know, it's an expression that we came up with. I think it's probably the greatest in the history of this country, maybe in the...
He's not going to do it. He's not saying it. Fucking Hannity tried to fucking T-ball this motherfucker out of the, like, let's get rid of that whole vengeful talking point. It's screwing you up with women and independent voters. Nah, fuck that. MAGA, MAGA, MAGA.
The history of the world. MAGA, make America great again. And when I see him, we will stop MAGA. I said, does he have any idea what MAGA means? It means make America great again. He wants to stop MAGA. I want to make America great again. Our country's in big trouble right now. Look at what we're looking at right now. We're looking at walls and fences.
Yes, and what are you not looking at? What do you not see? No pun intended. Do you guys see any stampeding hordes of people? And by the way, I don't see a wall there. It's a bunch of stacked shipping containers. I don't even know what the fuck. Like, the wall's over here, dum-dum. Like, behind. All right, never mind. This is so stupid.
You know, with me, they knew they weren't going to be invited in. They weren't. Lots of things weren't going to be happening. They're inviting millions of people into.
Okay, also, for the record, let's just put a pin in this. If you remove the number of people crossing in 2020, like you leave out the fact that the number went down because of COVID, because we had more cases in the United States than they had in Mexico. Now, they may have had a same number or an equal number, but they certainly couldn't keep track of it the way we could. So we knew how many cases we had. Mexico didn't, but it looked like we had more cases, and that would be one of the reasons why people didn't want to come into the fucking country. If he continued on, if COVID hadn't happened, Trump's numbers of people crossing the border, actual human beings coming into the country, would have been almost identical to Biden's.
To our country. And the saddest part is a lot of the people that are being invited in, you don't want in your country. They're very dangerous people.
Let me.
So you are going to be vengeful towards your enemies, is what I'm hearing.
Ask you this: you put out on Truth a statement when the Alabama court came back with the issue of in vitro fertilization, IVF.
I did.
I would argue that 2022, a lot of people thought overturning Roe v. Wade would end up being a good thing.
Right.
We know what the Democrats are going to do. They're going to demagogue Republicans like they always do.
Hey, asshole. We don't even have to. You guys are showing yourselves to be demonic on this issue. You're tracking women's travel to make sure they don't leave the state. Yeah, it's a good point. I'm diving into this, and everybody in the chat's like, you don't even know what fucking IVF stands for.
They're racist, sexist, misogynist, homophobic, all that stuff. But more important, democracy in peril. They hate Donald Trump.
We don't hate Donald Trump as an abstract human being, like because of his this annoying trait to him. But it's what he does that matters. That's what we hate. Now, your character is what you do, so that part is kind of an overlap, just for the record. It's like, it's true. I don't like what he does, therefore I don't like who he is. But it's not, I don't randomly pick, none of us are grinding on Mark Cuban, is my point. There's people who hate, I don't know, any random uber millionaire, Bill Gates or whatever, because they either have a fantasy about them being a violent monster, or the whole, like, Bill Gates is behind vaccines, all the QAnons who hate him. They have that reasoning behind it, but it's not based on anything real. And it's certainly not, like, I find issue, I will take issue with the fact that Bill Gates hung out with Epstein, but I would argue that Epstein probably hung out with a bunch of those folks as cover. So we don't know. But if Bill Gates was out bragging about it and shit-talking victims, and if Bill Gates had taken a question at a fucking press conference and said he wished Ghislaine Maxwell well in prison, fuck's sake. Like, then you'd go, I fucking hate that guy. That'd be easy, right? People aren't, he likes to, and Hannity does this too, is that this all like Democrats like to attack successful people. They just don't like success. Like, I got news for you, motherfucker. There are a lot of successful people that aren't even on the fucking radar. Nobody even cares. And if you brought them up, you'd be like, all right, you know, I don't know much about it. I don't care. This motherfucker can't run a charity in New York State because he ripped it off. His own fucking son stole from St. Jude's. Get the fuck out of here. It's not they hate your fucking name. It's what your name now represents.
January 6th, but then the issue of abortion. I think it played a very big part. They demagogued that issue in 2020.
No, they didn't. No, we didn't. Point of order, Mr. Chairman. We did not demagogue that issue. We pointed out that it was going to endanger women's lives, and it treated women as second-class citizens because now they have to take that into account if they want to move from one state to another, and men fucking don't. As a man, I don't have to, if I got a job opportunity and I had to move to a state for that job, I wouldn't have to think twice about whether or not my healthcare needs would be fucking met, or whether I could make decisions about whether or not I was going to have a fucking kid at all. Women, on the other hand, now have to look at it and go, okay, I got a job offer, but if I move there, if I become pregnant before I'm ready, or my daughter gets pregnant because she's sexually assaulted or something like that happens, I'm going to have to fucking fly her out of the state, and the cops might arrest us for trying. And that's not us demonizing or demagoguing people. That's just fucking true. They fucking did it.
22 in the midterm, and I think it hurt Republicans.
You think?
You took a strong stand on IVF. Where are you on that, and what is your message to other candidates, and where are you on abortion?
So I saw the IVF, and a judge in Alabama made a very harsh decision. It was very, very tough. And I came out immediately, and I said, we want to help women. This is fertilization. They're having a hard time having a baby, to put it very simply. And they're helped by clinics and others.
Yeah, helped by clinics and others. Garbage men, fucking bait shop salesmen, F1 drivers, others, you know, clinics and others.
And all of a sudden, it was stopped in Alabama, and I put out a very strong statement that we're totally in favor of it. I got a call from Katie Britt, a very wonderful young senator in Alabama, and she said friends of mine were coming up and like almost attacking her. They were so upset about it. And I said, what's the issue? What is it? Explain. What is it exactly?
Why should I give a fuck?
And we're talking about the IVF. And I said, we want that. We want people to help. We're on the side of women. And same thing on the abortion.
Okay, first of all, asshole, he doesn't even understand the premise of why this Alabama judge has this ridiculous hyper-biblical idea about that every fertilized egg is alive and must be carried to term. That's what this is talking about. And the idea that he's on the side of women is a fucking joke. Like, talk about sarcasm.
The abortion issue. Now, I'm for the exceptions, like Ronald Reagan was for the exceptions, and I think it's very important to be
mother's life.
Correct, life of the mother. I think
you're not going to say rape and incest or whatever. Why? Too close to home with your whole like, if Ivanka, you know, like, what do you have in common with your daughter? I was going to say sex.
It's a very important thing. The exceptions. I also think that they are the.
What exceptions would those be? I mean, you heard him say life of the mother, so you said life of the mother, but what would be the exceptions? Why don't you just say them?
The radicals, because they will kill the baby in 8 months, 9 months, under Roe v. Wade.
Bullshit.
They had the right to kill the baby after birth. I mean, literally after birth and so.
No, not anywhere, not at all. Fuck off. Not even true. Just a lie. Garbage, horseshit, nonsense. Like, I don't know. Can we just stack those words? That is like, it's such a gross lie. And it also shows you his opinion of what, like, women, unless they're contained, what they will do.
Well, that was the governor of Virginia at the time.
That's
but
right.
I was talking to your friend Gavin Newsom. I asked him 4 times in a row. I said, are there any limitations at all? He would not answer.
Yeah.
A lot of Democrats said that that no government official should ever get between a doctor and her patient. Okay, that means no exceptions, but Dobbs said 15 weeks.
Right.
That's just about a little over first trimester.
So more and more I'm hearing about 15 weeks.
Jesus Christ. He so doesn't want to say it because he knows he's going to lose a huge chunk of people. Here's the weird part. I was about to say pro-life. The anti-choice Trumpers, quite frankly, whatever he says, they're going to assume he's going to end abortion, period. That anything he says that where he even plays footsie with the idea of a reasonable limit or any of those kind of things, or even when he talks about the exceptions, they don't believe him. They think he's going to put the Amy Coney Barretts in there. The Amy Coney Barretts are purists about it, and that'll be that. And so he can lie all he fucking wants. If you're lying on, for Jesus, it's not really a lie. That's that. So I don't even know why he plays footsie around this. If he just came flat out and said 16 weeks or whatever, because that's what he was saying was 16 weeks, because it's I don't know, 4 months. He was saying it's 4 months, which it isn't.
I haven't decided yet. Also,
it's a big issue. You've been president once already. You put people on the Supreme Court specifically as heat-seeking missiles to destroy Roe and throw it back to the fucking states. And he's like, I haven't really made a decision yet. Are you out of your fucking mind?
It back to the states where it belongs. And by the way, a lot of states are taking very strong stances. Ohio voted.
15 states.
Alabama.
15 weeks.
Correct. I mean, a lot of states are taking very strong stances. You look at Kansas, Ohio.
He just said Ohio, so you said Ohio like he didn't.
And it's going to be the law within the state. And they have gone, much different than a lot of people thought.
They have gone much different than a lot of people thought. No, they haven't. They're denying women their right to medical care. Exactly as we said they would.
But everybody on both sides said it has to be in the states. We did.
No, they haven't. No, they don't. And the idea that women would have to pick and choose what states they have equal rights in is fucked up.
A very good thing, a very big thing, a very important thing. Probably hurt the Republicans because a lot of Republicans really didn't know how to talk about it.
Well, why don't you talk about it, dum-dum? Tell them how to do it. Teach them.
But you remember this. Now it's in the states. A lot of states are taking a vote of their citizens and vote.
No, they're not. The Alabama IVF thing was from a fucking judge. That wasn't on the ballot, dum-dum.
Coming out both.
Half of these motherfuckers were already in office when this came down, and they've been waiting to make these decisions all this time, and then they just fucking did it. And so now they're going to have a vote to undo it.
Ways, but large.
And a lot of them, and by the way, they are, and it's driving up Democratic voter turnout.
Actually, they're coming in with a certain number of weeks.
They're coming in with a certain number of weeks. Thank God this isn't an important issue, and thank God he's sharp as a fucking tack.
And the number 15 is mentioned. I haven't agreed to any number. I'm going to see. We want to take an issue that was very polarizing and get it settled and solved so everybody can be happy. But I will.
There's no fucking way. There is no way the chunk of his followers that supported Amy Coney Barrett and Kavanaugh being on the Supreme Court, they will only be happy with zero, none, never. It's not it was the law itself. Roe v. Wade's existence created the actual, the mitigatory place. Like it was literally, it created a kind of bumper window on what was legal. It didn't set an actual date, but states were able to operate within that or whatever. And there's a lot of arguments back and forth and little lawsuits, and they bumped at the edges of it. But overall, you couldn't get rid of the right entirely, but you could keep it within regions. That's what it did. And he fucking got rid of it. The same way he got rid of the cops program. By the way, 2 years before Kavanaugh kneeled on fucking George Floyd's neck, the program that the Obama-Biden administration put in so that it would make it easier for local police offices and sheriff's offices to get rid of bad cops. Finally get rid of them. Right? Without having all the the difficulty they would have either with the union or with the pension issues and stuff. If somebody's bad on your force, you could get rid of them. And he was like, it's got Obama's name on it. Fuck him. And he got rid of it. He also got rid of the pandemic response team. In 2 years to the fucking day, practically, we get the George Floyd death and the riots afterwards and the fucking pandemic. Because he doesn't, and the same thing with Roe v. Wade. It's like, I don't know, we'll find some way of being, making everybody happy. Well, I got news for you. Everybody but the extremists were happy with Roe v. Wade in its form. Now, nobody is, and the fucking extremists now have the reins.
Say this, you look at the Democratic view, let's say the Democrats' view, that was a very radical view because they're willing to kill a baby in the 7th, 8th, 9th month.
Fuck you. No, we're not.
One thing, and you can look at polling all you want, when you get after a certain number of months, I mean, especially you get into 6, 7, 8, 9.
Yeah, those numbers go in that direction, sure.
And after birth.
That's emphatic.
Everybody doesn't want that to happen. I mean.
Right. Everybody doesn't want that to happen. The only time this is coming up is when you have an ectopic pregnancy where the fucking baby itself is never going to live. Its fucking heart's outside of its body. Its brain is gelatin. Its bones are fused together. It's stuck to the uterus of the woman and fused literally with the cells so that if she pushes it out, she'll tear her own insides out. And that's the only time they're talking about these kind of decisions. And when the governor of Virginia said this, he was like, the only thing they have to deal with is how long will they keep trying to resuscitate a non-viable fetus at that point? This child's not going to live outside the womb. Once it's born, it's gonna die. And the question you as parents have to go through is, how long do we keep it alive? That's the issue. That's not killing it after it's born, which is what he's talking about.
Almost everybody.
It was Northam who made that comment about, first the baby's born and then we'll take care of it, make it comfortable, and then the doctor and the mother will decide. All right. Hey, Sean Hannity here.
Yeah. Decide about how long to keep it alive because it's not viable. It's just gross. Just fucking, yeah. Sorry, somebody in here was saying, Hal, sadly, I have a dear friend who had this devastating choice. It was mother or baby, and the husband chose his wife. He's a moron? What? Oh, I hope you're being sarcastic about that. I'm glad he chose his wife. Thanks, Ali Osher. No conversation between men on abortion unless that man is an obstetrician. Or it's his kid, I guess, right? Mrs. Wiggins. He should have some say in it, one would think. But even in this situation, I'm glad to have a conversation about it, quite frankly, because I'm on the side of women should have the right to do it. And if it's only women arguing for themselves, then there's an idea that that somehow the belief in women's rights is completely based on the sex of the person arguing it. And I don't think that's the case. As a man, I absolutely believe women should have the right to choose. I also don't think that women are having just like selective abortions for the fuck of it. And people who think that, obviously, it's its own special form of misogyny. Because that's what they're really telling you. They just think women are disgusting. Right? They think women are hysterical and they make, snap decisions about life and that kind of stuff, and they have no like compunction about, killing a baby or whatever. Like, that's their attitude towards women, which again is yet another reason why they shouldn't be running the country. That's a sign of someone who should not be in charge of the rights of women. If you have that attitude about them, Jesus Christ. It's the same reason we don't want a racist president, right? Because if you have a racist president, they're like, well, yeah, we can only help that group or this group so much, or an anti-Semite, for example. How do we fix this? We keep voting for Democrats and don't let another Republican in the administration or in the Senate or anywhere else for decades. And you don't throw your fucking vote away. Because I got news for you. We can argue this shit all we want. And I'm disgusted by what he says. But let's be abundantly clear. Donald Trump in 2016 lost the popular vote by 3 million votes. 3 million more Americans voted for Hillary Clinton than did for Donald Trump. Okay? And by the way, we'll have similar numbers this time around, where Biden's going to trounce him by that, close to that number, probably 4 million, probably more so. But it was 75,000 alleged progressives, alleged liberals, alleged Democrats, progressives, I call them, on our side, who phoned in their vote, voted for Trump, or didn't vote for president at all because they were spoon-fed this horse shit that it's a toss-up. It doesn't really matter. Doesn't really matter who's president. It's not going to really change anything. It never fucking does. Illuminati, establishment, deep state, blah-bitty fucking blah. It doesn't matter who's running things. And what did he do? This pussy-grabbing, second-generation rich kid who got whose first experience of the Justice Department was being sued for not renting to black people, ended up being president of the United States because of people on our side of the aisle in states he should have never won. It's us. It's on us. We stood down. Because nationwide, he lost by 3 million votes. But in very particular areas, a bunch of people that supposedly believe the same thing we do, and certainly supposedly believe in the rights of women, went, fuck, I don't like Hillary. She's a warmonger, blah, blah, blah. I don't like her. She defended Bill or some shit. Like, that was enough. They were just like, blech. She's going to start a war. She's a warmonger. That's who she is. Donald Trump, maybe he'll come in and wreck the fucking world and we'll get what we deserve. That was it. They didn't think it was important, so they either phoned it in, voted for him, or didn't vote at all for president of the United States. They voted for other people, but they didn't vote for the president, and it allowed him to get the Electoral College. The Jill Stein crowd, right. The ever-burning Bernie bros, the fucking TYT crowd. That's who gave us Donald Trump as a president. And that act gave us Amy Coney Barrett and Kavanaugh on the Supreme Court, and that led us to losing Roe v. Wade. This shit, that's why it's not an emergency. An emergency is something that happens right here, right fucking now. And it needs an emergency solution. This was a long time fucking coming. We could see this shit way back when Pat Robertson ran. Right? That this was where the Republican Party was headed. That's why we had all these fucking litmus test conversations every goddamn time. Right? Every fucking time. We'd have this, there shouldn't be a litmus test about this, but it's settled law, right? You believe it's settled law, right? That's the point. And everybody's like, yep, settled law. And most of the presidents, including Bush, ironically enough, put people in that while they were clearly pro-life and they clearly leaned that way, treated it as settled law. And then Donald Trump, the liar, broke that mold and brought in liars who lied under oath about it being settled law. And when it reached their doorstep in a planned way, because the right wing had always been trying to find a way to get these cases to the Supreme Court, when Donald Trump set it up, and that's why, like I said, they don't give a fuck what he says about abortion. They don't. They do not care. Because they know it's a lie. And they presume it's a lie for their side. That he's just pretending to be mitigatory. Just to get elected. And then when he gets in there, he's going to do everything he can to eliminate abortion or the right to abortion for every woman regardless. They're assuming that. Yep. Sorry, somebody was like, what, it depends on which state you voted in. In California, it was already decided before I got to the election center. Same goes in the opposite in red states. Doesn't matter. No. If you're in a state that's already decided, you stack your vote with the mandate. And if you're in a red state, you eliminate this automatic right-wing mandate by showing up and putting your blue vote on the fucking scale. That's why it matters. As a matter of fact, in a red state, it matters more that Democrats show up. The more you think, my county's going to go this way, it becomes more important. Because it makes it so that they can't run a fucking Matt Gaetz or an MTG. They have to start considering for at least a little bit that the vote might eventually tick the other way if they go too far. Yeah. Sorry, somebody was jumping in there with we saw a break, and what was this? President Biden stuns Megaworld by announcing a jaw-dropping $42 million grassroots funding. Oh yeah, he made a shit ton of money, Alyosha. That's where don't look at the polls, look at the fun of them raising money, because Biden's raising a shit ton of money, and it's going to spread throughout the other Democratic races. And when it comes to get out the vote, they're going to have a machine in place. Trump has none, and he's still talking people out of fucking voting. Even his whole, we've got to swamp it shit, or slab it, that bullshit, even that, it is not going to drive his voters to the fucking polls.
We have to slab it.
Right. I was a TYT member for 3 years. I fell for the grift until the Tony Michaels podcast. I should sue TYT to get my money back. Well, sorry, I don't know that that's a possibility. It's the sucker's burden. We've all been there. We've all been there. It's okay. And I'm glad. Here's the thing. Most of that shit happens through the weaponization of empathy. Finding the good characteristics you have, the care that you have, the genuine, your belief in peace, your belief in helping the homeless, your belief in education, healthcare, all those kind of things. Taking that and weaponizing it in a way that basically builds your, builds up your fervor to where you're just overflowing with anger. Why is nothing done? Why is nothing being done? And then pulls the rug out and go, well, that's because there's nobody there that's going to do anything anyways. And so it undermines your desire to vote. What's the fucking point? What's the fucking point? Right? That's what they do each time. And anybody who questions the value of your vote is not for any of the things you believe. Not really. If you care about homelessness, if you care about education, if you care about healthcare, all those things, you vote. You fucking vote. Anybody who says, it doesn't matter, it's 6 of one, half dozen of the lesser two evils. Remember that bullshit? Yeah. Anybody who's saying that doesn't give a shit about the homeless, doesn't give a fuck about women's rights, doesn't care about universal health care, doesn't care about education being affordable, doesn't care about getting rid of people's student debt, none of that stuff. If they're walking you away from voting between the two binary choices that you have that will actually make a fucking difference, if they're trying to walk you anywhere else, they don't actually give a fuck about what you believe in. They don't. They're actively undermining it. Other than that, I have no opinion. All right, let's jump into our next clip. Otherwise, I will just, you guys know this is a rant I can get on and stay on forever. Batya Ungar Sargon, this lady, explains the MAGA philosophy that the left can't understand. Well, it's about fucking time. I guess I do. Let's see what it means. Second class, how the elites... Trump considers himself an elite. Bannon considers himself an elite. Mm-hmm. How the elites betrayed America's working men and women. And there's a truck full of grain right there with the sun going behind it. And you mean global corporations that move their shipping overseas and stuff and had their products made overseas, MAGA hats and whatever the fuck products Ivanka makes? You mean like that? Yeesh. Let's see.
All right, welcome. I just wanted to say, welcome.
Okay, this has been played a bunch. All right, I've seen everybody play this stuff. This is Jack Posobiec, and he is, for the record, being sarcastic about this. I'm just saying, for the record. He's being, this whole welcome to the end of democracy or whatever. He's talking about this in terms of that's how we're describing this gathering. Now, I stand by that description because I do think that's what they're after. But what he's doing is mocking that label. He's not actually saying it, directly. Saying the quiet part loud, I've heard it called. That's not what he's doing. He's trying to be cute about it, while at the same time, that's exactly what they're fucking.
To the end of democracy. We're here to overthrow it completely. We didn't get all the way there on January 6th, but we will endeavor to get rid of it and replace it with this right here. We'll replace it with this right here.
Amen. CPAC, do you know what that is? That is the conservative, what is it?
Unfortunately.
What is PAC?
Political Action Committee.
Political Action
Conservative Pedophile Action Conference.
Committee. Okay, yeah. It's their big convention every year. It's like corporations have a big convention. They have their big convention. I made jokes about it every year. I can't remember the last time we did it. It goes way back. I remember once calling it the Woodstock for the mentally impaired. And but in years past, it was like the most conservative commentators and senators and governors. And okay, this year there's a guy, I've heard this name. I don't know who.
Okay, I think he's making a point that this has devolved into, like YouTubers essentially.
He is Jack Prozobic. He's doing
Prozobic. I don't care that he gets it wrong, but that's fine.
Sort of like a roundtable discussion. You know, it's a convention. They have these things. This is a quote. "Welcome to the end of democracy. We are here to overthrow it completely. We didn't get all the way there on January 6th, but we..."
Yeah, see, this is the problem I had, is that they're reading it as if he wasn't being cute about it or being ironic about it. Prosobic was actually meaning it to be a joke when he said it, but a joke that hides the truth. And by thinking that he's not saying it as a joke, and like just looking at the quote directly without understanding that makes you seem dumb, or like you're incapable of getting the joke and therefore you're buying into what he's saying, right? The point is, and yeah, he definitely said it, but he said it he was being verbally ironic, is the point. The important thing is not that he said it and he was joking and that's that. The important point to be made is that he said it, he was joking, but then they got right about doing it. That's what you point out. You point out that that was a joke that wasn't a joke. He was dismissing the criticism in a joking way, and then they absolutely went on about it. Not, he said it openly and they were like, "We're proud to be insurrectionists." Fucking sick.
Will endeavor to get rid of it. Am I missing an irony here? Am I missing?
Yes, you are.
A joke, or is it, as it seems now, they are saying the quiet part out loud?
Yeah.
That they are not. This is CPAC. This is their big. This is Republican, conservative. Their big convention, and you have a guy like this, and the crowd is loving it. Welcome to the end of democracy. We're here to overthrow it. January 6th was good. Now we're going to finish the job. Thoughts?
It's scary.
Thoughts on that?
I'm gonna get a fucking hit.
We're going medieval and do everything. Happens very rarely. Or is be safe.
War Room. Here's your host, Stephen K. Bannon.
Stephen K. Bannon. Does anybody know what the K stands for? Is it Ku Klux or Klan? I always forget.
It's Tuesday, 5 March, in the year of our Lord 2024. It is not often on the Bill Maher show he gets put in his place. We have the extraordinary young woman here who did that, Batya Unger Sargon from Newsweek magazine and Brooklyn. I've done Bill Maher a lot. I know those guys quite well. That was really, it happens very rarely on his show, but you knew the details. And we'll talk about what happened else. Talk to me about that. Talk to me about going in the Lion's Den. It's what, 3,000.
The Lion's Den. Grow the fuck up.
People at the old, it's the CBS studios over on Highland in L.A.
Yeah, it's terrible. The CBS studios on Highland in L.A. It's shocking. It's scary to even set foot on the grounds, on the same place where they had meetings about Marcus Welby, MD, and the fucking farmers market is a block away. It's just, seriously, it's like a granola crime wave waiting to happen.
Talk to me about being on there.
Well, I'm very, very grateful to Bill for having me, because
even though I am on the left, I can't get onto liberal shows because it's kind of like that scene in Monty Python where they're like, hey, we want to join you. And they were like, well, how much do you hate the Romans? And he goes, a lot. And they're like, right, you're in. It's the same thing with Trump. If you don't hate Trump, they will not let you on, even if you want to tell them, hey, here's how the Democrats could get the working class back. They don't want to hear it. And I just find it undeniable at this point that thanks to you, Mr. Bannon, Donald Trump became the voice of the working class and the voice of saving the working class from the handshake agreement between both parties to sell them out and sell out their futures. If you have arrived at that conclusion, which I think is
Also, by the way, I have not, and I would like to see an argument for this rather than just the description of it as self-evident, which again, there is not a handshake between both parties to stop unions, to defund education, any of that stuff. Like, it's goofy. Like, no. This uniparty horseshit, this both sides do it nonsense by, like, attacking the extremes and then saying that's what the rank and file do is just garbage.
The only true conclusion. You cannot get into liberal spaces. So I'm very grateful to Bill for having me, although the audience definitely didn't like me.
No, but I want to talk about it. You say you're a liberal or progressive, yet your books, this book is, and I know you're going to come out with a bigger media campaign later, but, Second Class is one of the definitive works out there. It's about to come out. How do you say you're liberal when I read it and I feel like I'm reading a MAGA writer?
Because you are?
Well, to me, Donald Trump is kind of like a New Deal Democrat. And this is something I tried to explain to Bill Maher as well. To Democrats and liberals, Trump is...
Yeah, except for all the, like, stealing national security secrets and pussy grabbing and lying to banks and the IRS about the value of his buildings or even how tall they fucking are. And God knows what the fuck happened to his ex-wife and his failed casinos and his shit-talking the woman he sexually assaulted and stuff. Other than that, the dude's a fucking regular Roosevelt.
An extremist, but to Trump's supporters, he is a moderate, if not a liberal.
Say that again. This is...
What the fuck are you talking about?
Because in the war room, we always have President Trump's right flank. Right? We always have the right flank. President Trump, what the media and he's a kind-hearted guy. He's a big-hearted guy. He was very popular.
Well, if you're a man who can give him money, apparently.
Popular with all that crowd beforehand. He is.
No, he wasn't. He was a running gag.
If you look at the spectrum of our policy recommendations and beliefs, President Trump is kind of a moderate, right? That's why he's building a coalition.
No. When you suggest extreme ideas and you fail and you either get nothing passed or what you get passed is kind of a bipartisan version of it, which most of the time he got nothing at all, or in one case the Republicans just rammed through their fucking tax cut on a party line vote, that's not moderation. If life does not moderate you, to be a moderate, you have to choose the middle way, not, well, I can't get out what I want, so I'll just fucking, just so I can't take all L's. That's not being a moderate.
You agree with that?
His view on abortion, 16 weeks, right? That was the...
Not yet. Hold on a second. Secondly, he's saying, like, they're back and forth about 15. He hasn't made up his mind yet, and he's not going to. You know why? Because A, he's a coward, and he's not a leader, and he's had at least 3 abortions. Ask Elliot Broidy.
Democrats' view until the 90s, his view on immigration, that mass migration is class warfare against the working class, that's
not what he says. He doesn't say class warfare against the working class. When the fuck did he become Bernie Sanders? Get the fuck out of here. He doesn't think that. He thinks they're sending rapists and like Hispanic people coming across the border are terrorists and they're from insane asylums. He's not talking about they're taking our jobs. The fuck are you talking about?
That was the view of the Democrats until the 90s.
Bernie Sanders.
Bernie Sanders in 2015. Open borders, that's a Koch brothers proposal, right? You remember that? Trump is pro-black. He's courting black voters. He's
courting black voters by saying, look, I'm only being indicted because of you fuckers. By the way, you guys get busted for crime all the time. We got a lot in common. Yeah, it's a great it's a terrific outreach program.
Pro-gay. I hear that from his supporters all the time, and they love that about him. That is who the Democrats used to be.
He's pro-gay. And you hear this all the time from his supporters. I'm just gonna straight up call bullshit on that one. I mean, we could dive into it further, but literally people in the war room around you that hang out with him all the time are gonna push back on that.
And now it is who MAGA is, and I say that with.
MAGA is not fucking pro-gay and supportive of fucking immigration, like of immigrants, because they're going to take our jobs, and but we don't think they're violent monsters and rapists and from insane asylums. We just think it's economic warfare. No, he's saying they're terrorists, and they're like, it's an invasion.
With a lot of love and respect.
So talk about that as a liberal. You've been out.
Alleged.
Outcast because you take the side of the working class.
Yeah.
So how can that be? The Democrats tell us all the time they're a part. AOC and these people tell us they're a working class party.
No.
Right. That would be why Joe Biden was the first president ever to stand on a union picket line, and Donald Trump hired scabs and went to a non-union shop to pretend he was on their side. I have to say, though, I doubt she's going to bring that up. I'm getting a little premonition, but I doubt that's going to come up.
That's complete nonsense. The Democrats are the party of the college-credentialed elites and the dependent poor. So all of their policies are either about flattering the vanity of the rich or sustaining the poor that won't work. And meanwhile...
Oh, the poor that won't work. That's something we always talk about as liberals. Hey, guys, as a liberal, when you're sitting around talking about the poor that won't work, that's how I refer to them. I think that's how most liberals talk about them, don't you? Hold on. Real quick, I just want to, I'm going to show something to this. Get this in here. Hold on one second. Let's see. One more thing. There it is. That's what I was looking for. Yeah, it's that whole elite-y thing that we do with the elite thing. The Biden-Harris administration announces $47 million in new funding to support school infrastructure investments, followed by U.S. Department of Education launches new initiative to support career-connected learning and increase job pathways for young Americans. Specifically, this is around vocational schools. Announced the launch of Raise the Bar, Unlocking Career Success, a new Biden-Harris administration initiative supported by the Departments of Commerce and Labor to increase and expand access to high-quality training programs to help young Americans pursue jobs in today's in-demand fields and prepare for careers of the future. The new effort unites key agencies of the Biden-Harris administration to strengthen the connection between K through 12 education, post-secondary education, workforce programs, with the support of $120 billion dedicated to K through 12 education in the American Rescue Plan and the Perkins funding. The administration is ensuring the next generation is building the skills necessary to fill high-paying jobs like those created by the Bipartisan Infrastructure Law, CHIPS, and Science Act. This includes expanding access to skills-based learning and training pathways. That's vocational schools, like registered apprenticeships in key industries such as advanced manufacturing, automotive, cybersecurity. This continues. Here you go. Biden administration urges schools to expand apprenticeships and career learning. Fact sheet. Biden administration to take steps to bolster registered apprenticeships. Today, President Biden and Vice President Harris will meet with a group of labor leaders to discuss the American Rescue Plan and to get input into the president's infrastructure plan. They will discuss, which both passed and had all this shit in. They will discuss how to put millions of Americans to work in good-paying union jobs, building roads, bridges, transit, electric vehicle charging stations, broadband schools, and child care centers, water infrastructure, and more. Major infrastructure investments will provide reliable, steady demand for products made by the U.S. workers and supply chains of U.S. small businesses. These investments will provide opportunities to Americans who have been too often left behind, and they will make America more competitive. President Biden has called for jobs created by rebuilding America's infrastructure to be filled by diverse, local, well-trained workers who have a choice to join a union. This starts by expanding registered apprenticeship programs and investing in pipelines into these programs, due in large part to the hard work of North America's building trades unions and other unions. Registered apprenticeships have been a reliable pathway to the middle class for decades, including for workers who don't go to college, by training workers for good jobs and allowing them to earn while they earn. A Mathematica study shows workers can earn $240,000 more over the course of their lifetime, $300,000 when including benefits, by participating in these programs. Registered apprenticeships are especially important as we recover from the pandemic. This is what this young lady is saying is bullshit. By the way, does anybody remember like Trump playing up fucking vocational training as a pathway into the middle class for people on the lower end of the income spectrum? Anybody? No. Remember him getting behind the wheel of the truck going and pretending to drive, right? Because truckers. He's just sucking up to the ones who already have a fucking job. Good Lord.
Everybody in the middle, the hardworking people who listen to your show, who you know about and who you respect.
She's going to lie to them. Thanks for coming on there, Batya, and lying to these motherfuckers. You are lying to them. You are lying to Steve Bannon's audience. And to that end, you are, what do we say in the business? On brand.
They were not represented by either party until Trump came along. And Trump showed up and said, wait a minute, why is no one...
Bullshit. There is a side car to this whole conversation about the white working class as a large mass and the efforts towards racial inclusiveness that the Democrats have been pushing for a long time, that elements of the activist class in the racial inclusiveness group think that talking up like the white working class or involving them is bad. Fuck them. They don't deserve it. Most of them, they view them as rural rednecks and poor people. That group. And if you don't believe me, ask Bernie Sanders, because he had a bunch of these fuckers stand up at his rallies and stuff, like whenever he would try to bring in that. When he was making the argument that Trump is going to scoop up these people and convince them that, that he's on their side if we don't reach out to them. And there were people standing there going, don't reach out to them because white people suck. And he was dealing with that. There's that wedge of those folks. And those folks are assholes. They're racists. They're just dicks. And they don't represent the vast majority of even the groups they purport to represent. And they certainly don't represent the working class rural people that have been kept alive and helped by all the programs that Democrats have put in place over the years, Medicare, Medicaid, and Social Security, to name a few, not to mention the fucking public education system, where if left up to the Republicans, anybody in a rural area like I grew up would have just been a fucking illiterate unless their parents, made, like, homeschooled them specifically. If you weren't smart enough to be, if your parents weren't smart enough to homeschool you or didn't have the ability or the money to be able to have somebody stay home and do it, then fuck you. You deserve to work in a plant and lose your fucking fingers, right? That's the idea. Hold on. What did he say? Are you a racist if you hate racists? No, not at all. I don't think so. Unless you only hate them because of their color, I suppose. Chat room. That's very funny. Anyways, this lady is bullshitting, is essentially my point. And there were, while there's a wedge of those people that would make that case, that made it hard for outreach from certain sectors of the Democratic Party about the white working class, which is a huge group of people. And Trump didn't give a fuck because he didn't care about anybody else. He had Blacks for Trump dudes standing behind him who thinks that Barack Obama and Kamala Harris and fucking Oprah and Sidney Poitier and every other famous, Chris Rock, they're all not really black people. They're half Cherokee and half East Indian, and they were involved in the slave trade. Like, this is fucking stupid. What that dude believes, what the fuck? But the point is, you have to be able to reach out to people who are in economic dire straits regardless, and you don't have to not address the fact that they're country white people or whatever. It shouldn't matter. It should not fucking matter. But it did to that group of people, and they made a big stink about it. And that's what drove them into Trump's camp in some ways. That was the argument that Bernie was making, and he was right about that. Most of the time, though, ain't even close to the case. And certainly the very people that she's saying support Trump because of his economic policies or some shit like that are all being helped by the reshoring of factories that Biden has been participating in, the vocational training that Biden has been talking about, the infrastructure improvements, specifically getting them broadband. Rural broadband is one of the biggest moves. And, of course, getting lead pipes out of the fucking ground, which will change. By the way, you want to talk about something that will change the voting statistics and the crime statistics in rural areas, which are the worst, throughout the entire fucking country over the next 30 goddamn years, it will be getting the lead pipes out of there. Because the drip and drab lead poisoning that happens in a lot of these rural communities, and is just as bad as when it happens in an inner city area, but it's more acute, so people pay attention. But out in the fucking sticks, nobody does. And when it happens to somebody, they're just a dumbass redneck that's just kind of mentally deficient. And instead of, they've been fucking poisoned systemically for years. I mean, look at the fucking Eastern Kentucky, that whole region. All those people have been poisoned by the runoff from coal from Virginia and West Virginia, just coming down the river, poisoning the rivers and streams, the water near them, toxifying their lives and giving them not only disease but mental deficiencies because of it. And those fucking people are the folks that Trump will round up. That's when he's like, I love the poorly educated. That's who he's fucking talking about. And Joe Biden, by removing that shit, you are going to see a new enlightenment in those areas of the world, because that's where we used to have what were called country gentlemen. We used to have rural whites who spoke multiple languages, who were of the sort of Thomas Jefferson ideal, where you were a deist, you didn't believe in the miracles in the Bible, but you believed in the importance of faith and all those kind of things. You got Lincoln teaching himself law while he's living there in a fucking log cabin. That kind of shit used to happen in those same areas. It's not in the soil and it's not in the blood. Yeah, Major Ojeda and I have talked about this personally a couple of times. So, Thomas Jefferson was a slave owner, though. The majority of them were at the time, and also Jefferson couldn't sell his because there was no law against it, so they would be scooped up. They couldn't live free. And so make that argument all you want to, but that's the Jefferson Bible is more important about that. And he wrote several treatises to try and end slavery in his lifetime. He just didn't trust that if he set his slaves free, that they wouldn't be scooped up, just so you know. And by the way, there weren't just white slave owners at that time. And Native American tribes, including the Cherokee, had slaves. The Cherokee had slaves until almost 10 years after the Civil War. Slavery was ubiquitous throughout the world until it was ended. So, it still technically goes on. But in the United States and other countries, it is illegal. And it has been ever since then. So understand that, overlaying your modern morals that in the time you grew up in on people who literally changed the system is misguided, I would think. Anyways, now back to what this dipshit is talking about.
Standing up for the hardworking American. And what I did for this book is
standing up for the hardworking American who couldn't get a fucking loan because Donald Trump sucked up all the money that he didn't actually get to, he didn't deserve.
I traveled around the country and interviewed working class Americans. And let me tell you something, Steve, and you know this. Working class Americans, whether they vote for Democrats.
Mr. Spock, capitalism is not bad. It isn't. And by the way, capitalism is not just market economy either. I think that's an important distinction. Explain to me the difference between market economies where I work, I create a standard for what my work is worth, and I try to sell my labor to you at a premium, and then I can get something. You go, if it's worth it to you, you'll pay me for it out of the work of your labor and that kind of stuff, and we have an exchange over that, versus capitalism, which is, I guess, technically someone stacking money somewhere so nobody else can get it. Is that what you're thinking? Because again, poor people globally, what does that mean? Yeah, capitalism is a good thing. It is the democratization of wealth.
Democrat or Republican, whether they're liberal or conservatives, they all have the same views. Like, neither party is really speaking to them. They all agree, by and large, about the most important issues. Polarization is a totally elite phenomenon.
It's his business model. You're out of your fucking mind? I mean, say what you will about although I may occasionally, because of my own personal beliefs, polarize some folks. I don't think I do. I think I might just upset them. But I will say that most of the time, I believe in consensus and incremental progress, and I would argue governance based on understanding. We understand what the desired outcome is. We understand what our limitations currently are in how many people are for it, how many people are against it, whether they can be convinced at all, over what period of time they may become convinced. Maybe you have to do a pilot program of something so that people recognize its value before they go all in on it, and those kind of things. And then I guess it would be the third tier of it, the potential, like the pie in the sky version, best case scenario, worst case scenario, and you can work through all those things, right? That's what I would argue for most of the time. Yes? That makes sense? Okay.
Walk us through that.
So the elites are very, very polarized. If you talk to someone who's been to college, conservative or liberal, somebody
like Horton or something, you mean?
Who works in the media, elites, somebody who works in the political elites, they look at the party platform, whether it's the GOP platform or the Democratic platform, and they're like, check, 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 check. Whatever the party tells them is the good and the right, they agree with. So
what? What? Sorry, I think that was kind of just gibberish. Yes? Oh, check the mic. It's parts of what I'm saying. I'm glitchy. Oh, I'm being attacked. Obviously, the deep state is after me. Oh, maybe it's let's see. I'll turn it down a touch. Maybe it's jostling. Audio. Check. Audio. Check. Probably just a DDoS attack. It's the elites. They came after me. That's what happened, Andrea. It's the elites.
There's no natural connection between supporting abortion on demand and believing in climate change and supporting an open border. Those things were cobbled together because they are all in the interests of the leftist elites.
Okay, first of all, abortion on demand is fucking ridiculous. Nobody's asking for abortion on demand. Even that phrase talks about women as if they just can't wait to flip out and kill a baby. That they just, at some point, women, because you can't trust them because they're hysterical messes, are going to go, I don't like being pregnant anymore. Get it out. I don't care what you do with it. Just get it out. That's abortion on demand. Nobody's asking for abortion on demand. They have the right to do it within a reasonable, fix it audio, sound, fix it audio. Okay, all right, let me see what I can do. I don't know why. Let's see. Hold on. I'm going to check on my own end, see if it's not a... It's going to be terrible, and I'll probably get a feedback issue on it. Let me see if I can hear myself. Check 1, check 2, check 2, check 3. What are you doing? Okay, I toggled. I'm toggling. Why is it not toggling? All right, let me see if it's a screen. Hold on. Canceled. Audio sounds fine to you guys? Yeah. Oh, okay. No Twitch audio? Okay, you might have to reload your page. It might be a YouTube thing. Thank you, Holly. Abortions are not fun. Exactly. Well, this idea, again, that abortion on demand is a hashtag phrase meant to denigrate women. That's what it's for. That it's meant to point the finger at women and say, women are disgusting and will be, and can't be trusted to make these decisions themselves, because at some point they will flip out and decide just to kill their baby. And that's what Trump is pushing. That's what she's pushing. And that's what the phrase abortion on demand means to the general public, and certainly to her. That and nobody's asking for it that I know of. What some activists will say is none of your fucking business, and if I want an abortion tomorrow, I'm going to get one, because they're trying to stop you. And so they're saying you have no right to say. Everything they say about if I want one at 8.5 months, it's none of your goddamn business. What they're saying is stay out of my life. But I don't think any of them are, most of the people that I've heard talk about this or even discuss it at one of these events, or they get a, like the libs of TikTok crowd, get a mic in front of them and go, this is what they, this is what they believe. most of them aren't going to have kids in the first place and are there making a point about absolute women's rights. That's the point. It's up to them. Shut the fuck up. But the idea, yeah, the phrase on demand means a woman, she doesn't need it. She's just kind of like again, hysterical woman stuff would be the idea. It's gross.
And so if you're in those leftist elites, you're like, oh, these are all my priorities.
Also, why would a leftist elite, I'd love to, Kadash, I'm for it. Then I would say if she's a liberal and she's saying the liberal elites want this, well then in theory the rank and file liberals, I think, would understand a version of that, right? So if the elites wanted it as an absolute, like, again, abortion on demand is a concept, but the average liberal would go, I just want anytime you want, but I don't think maybe. I just think you should be able to have a 8.5-month abortion. I just believe that, but they need it. I don't fucking get it as a phrase. Who are these liberal elites that she's talking about? Honestly, I don't know. I would like to know, like, have a definition of who these people are.
If you are a...
Now my mic's too low. Is that what's happening? Is it too quiet? Hey-o. Hey-o. Check it. Check it. Check it. Check it. Hold on. I was checking my mic and bring it up a little bit. There we go. Check, check 1, check 2. Hey, check. Is that a little better? Hope so.
Hardworking American, those are not your priorities. You go issue by issue and say, well,
Okay, fuck you. That's what platforms are for. That is issue by issue. What the fuck? You think the Republicans don't have a point on abortion in their platform? What the fuck are you talking about? And also, how do you define what your party's about if you don't go through the main issues of the day and go, hey guys, let's sit in a room. What's our general consensus on this? What makes us Republicans or Democrats about this? How the fuck is, like, just being organized or just having your shit together on an issue, and or even, by the way, democracy in and of itself inside your own group, where you're going, okay, we got like an 80% consensus in here that this is how we're going to word it, right? How is that elite? What makes that? How is it elite to fucking clean your room?
I'm a Christian, so I would never get an abortion, but I know somebody who was raped, so I don't want it to be banned. You say, well, I have a family member who's gay and I want them to be treated with dignity, but I have a child in school and I'm terrified of the trans agenda, right? You have this, because the American working class is deeply tolerant. And so that is how they approach the world.
Hold it.
All right, first of all, again, she's talking to a guy who is in charge of an extremist view from the MAGA side of things. I don't know what the fuck she's talking about.
I've got to bring my other, so hold it. Because, and let me say this, and I think because this book is getting so much, your book, and you're a progressive or a liberal Democrat, your book is the antidote to the book of the moment. And I think when you come out, you're going to see that. This book is what they're all talking about. White rural rage, the threat to American democracy. Now, they've just taken the same group that you've looked at and the same statistics. And do we have that clip I sent you earlier about him being on the on the morning show? Just let me know what's up. They take the same.
First of all, can I just say for the record, I have not read that book, and so I can't speak to its content. But White Rural Rage is a terrible title to say, especially to speak. White Rural Rage. Rural rage in and of itself, like, you don't have to have an oversized tongue like I do to run into trouble trying to say that, and then add white on top. White rural rage, right? It's terrible. It's a terrible title. Just saying. And it's Tom Schiller and Paul Wadman. I don't know.
Same group that you've studied and traveled the country to do, and the same statistical analyses you've looked at, they have come to the exact opposite conclusion, that white working class, particularly white working class, are not in cities or not in suburbs, but the rural.
Well, that wouldn't be the white working class, then fucking would it? White rural rage is not the same as white working class rage, which, by the way, would be a way better title and way easier to say. I got to tell you, if that's what's in the book and that's what you're actually talking about, somebody at the fucking publisher would have said, why don't we call it white working class rage? It's so easy, it rolls off the tongue compared to white rural rage, which sounds like you're choking on soup.
Working class are the most xenophobic, nativist, racist, and they say now dangerous group in American history since the Confederates and the Civil War. In fact, they make direct analogies to the Confederates, to the Southern states in the Civil War.
Why? Because those people, some of the people they interviewed, literally go to like Daughters of the Confederacy meetings and dress up in Confederate clothing a couple times a year and wanted the Robert E. Lee statue to stay up and shit like that. Why would you think that?
What do they see? What are they?
White hillbilly rage? That's not bad, too. That's certainly easier to say. White right rage.
What do you see?
Hold on one second. That reminds me. Can I just say for a second, for one fucking second, can I jump in here real quick? Let me just say, I feel seen. I've always wanted to say that. I've never had a chance to say that before, and now I feel seen. What's the fuck? What's he talking about? I was hanging out. I was out there in the outhouse. I had to see a man about a mule.
That they've missed or are misinterpreting.
Yeah, tell it. Hey, lady from Elite University, with the New Yorker magazine hairdo. Tell him, the dude who doesn't bathe, what he gets wrong about people like me.
It's such a slander on this great nation, and I say that as a Jewish person.
Why would that factor in? Also, I would argue maybe, I know some of these motherfuckers, but do you ever think maybe like pick up a copy of that book, to give a call to the author to go, hey, can I talk to some of these people you talk to? And maybe say, as a Jewish American, and see how their eye starts to twitch.
I cannot sit here and allow this kind of slander.
You haven't even read the fucking book, lady. Look, I may not know how to read, but at least I know what I ain't read yet. How do you you're just going on what he says is in the book, dum-dum. This ain't church.
Of the American people to go unopposed. This book, this is the wishful thinking of over-credentialed college elites who have turned their back on the working class.
How the fuck do you know? Lady, they talk. I got news for you. Even with the title, real quick, how do you know that the authors don't come down on their side and go, they have a point, but their rage has been weaponized by some bad people? Or are you just going to, like, believe the dust flap version that fucking Bannon, a.k.a. Bill Barr, just told you?
And who hate America.
Well, obviously they only hate the places where you can get ticks in America.
And this is their wishful thinking as their justification. Oh, we don't have to care about the working class because they...
Hey, again, have you read the book?
They're racist. You know what, Steve? Something that you have taught me
is that racists deserve better. What? What did he teach you? What did he teach you? Soap is the enemy. No, what did he teach you? Bedbugs are your friends.
First, probably before anybody else, the working class in MAGA is multiracial. Guess what? Donald
Yeah, we got two kinds of music, country and western.
Trump was polling at 8% of black men. In 2020, he got 18%. He's now polling 20 to 30% of black men. You can imagine what he's going to get. The majority of Hispanics, who, by the way, the majority of that community is working class, they're also part of the MAGA movement. They're on the Trump train. This is...
Yeah, that's anti-immigrant fervor. That ain't because they believe he's an emblematic of the white working class or some shit like that. They think they're joining him because they think they can win the lottery. like him.
Absolute cope by a left that has abandoned.
How do you, again, you got to tell me if you've read that fucking book. Because if you have and that's what's in it, then whatever the fuck. But I have you? Shit.
Labor to cater to their vanity morals and masqueraded.
Vanity morals? What are vanity morals? That it's okay if you let Prince finger bang you on screen, but never be caught in your lingerie dancing for Morris Day? No, that ain't it. That's Apollonia morals. Vanity morals. That would be watch your skirt size in The Last Dragon.
Is the good guys while hating this country.
How did the Democratic Party, because I come from a Democratic Union family, and we split over the Vietnam War, right?
You were for it?
My family left, and they were huge Reagan. I mean, when Reagan came, and I remember in the 60s saying, well, Reagan's was just a small-time actor when they were, kids in the 30s. They became huge Reagan folks, right? Because they were Reagan Democrats. How did the Democratic Party...
Hold on. First of all, hit the like, folks. Just let me know you're there. Jesus Christ. They said there's a lot of people in this. We got a huge crowd today. I'm getting a little nervous. Anyways.
Party. What happened to the Democratic Party that it left its...
Also, some people are wondering in the chat room why I'm on a spaceship. Well, I'll have you know that I was one of the few alien abductees that responded well to probing. And so now I just vacation here. I just use it as I get a checkup. Every so often, I just, I'm like, what's happening, Ningbok? That's what one of the guys' name is. And I'm just like, take care of my poop shoot, and then I'm just going to go stand over there and look at the view.
Working class base, and really allowed it, because Buchanan talked a little bit about it, then Perot talked about it, then the Tea Party talked a little bit about it.
Yeah, Buchanan was talked to the racist side of it. Fucking Perot was just trying to be like fucking Napoleon Hill. Listen here. Now, some people have told me that I look a bit like Napoleon Hill, but with no teeth. I have been told over the course of my life, ladies and gentlemen, you too can be rich and powerful beyond measure if you practice certain principles and take care to focus on your goals and have a goal. I can do that real well. That's what Perot was doing. He did doing basically an impersonation. He was doing an impersonation of Napoleon Hill. Ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you that through the focus of your mind, you can eventually have all the wealth and good favor in life that you could possibly want. And I can explain to you because it is the American way. That's right. And that I had a son who was born completely without ears, who eventually learned how to hear through the focus of power of positive thinking and also scientific advancements that happened outside of my knowledge at the time. So I just hoped and wondered, and thankfully time passes forward, and he eventually got a little thing he could stick in his ear and he'd be able to hear. It was wonderful. Cochlear implants, they called them. And that's basically why I'm on a spaceship. It's a different kind of an implant, but it still works.
But left it open for Donald Trump to kind of run the tables. How did they abandon the working class of this country?
Yeah, tell them how they had. Hey, my voice is sounds a lot deeper after doing that Ross Perot shit. I just want to say I'm a lot more macho.
They decided to start catering to the college credentialed elites.
Oh, that's terrible. In what way? Did it have anything to do with the fact that we moved away from an industrial, coal-based economy towards a technological, financial version of them, and that's where most of the money was actually made, and therefore that's where most of the tax base came from, and all the social programs that we wanted for people would actually have to come from, those kind of folks, perhaps? Nah.
They created an economy that was extremely rewarding to people in the knowledge industry, and
they did. And how did they do that? By not listening to the Luddites, by showing absolute disdain for the Amish and the Pennsylvania Dutch. That's what happened. They didn't like them.
Extremely punishing to people who work with their hands for a living. And the way they did that was first they shipped the good-paying manufacturing jobs overseas to China.
They did? How did they do that? Did they use UPS? So Democrats and Republican elites shipped those jobs overseas.
and Mexico to build up their middle class. Then they opened the border and imported an entirely new slave caste to undercut service industry jobs that remained here. And they, with all of this, signaled to the working class, you're nothing.
Well, I think also one of the signals would be that, you know, you ain't got to wait tables and wash dishes. We have somebody who will do that for little money, and perhaps you could get a job doing something slightly better. Also, definitely the factories being shipped overseas were a big suck. But I'd like to say for the record that businesses did that because it was cheaper. You know, I mean, it's why I'm wearing bamboo underwear.
You are nothing. You do a job that actually we rely on to exist. You are nothing. You only matter if you have a high IQ and you go, or these people.
Check yourself, lady. Because I'll tell you one thing. Ain't nobody ever walked up and said that to me and walked away with more teeth than I have.
Are not all intelligent, by the way. You go and you get these credentials, and then they sit.
Yeah, like Ted Cruz. He went to Harvard. He's dumb as shit.
There, and they trade in credentialism. They have no respect for this country or for the values of this country or for the value of hard work.
So why does Joe Biden walk a picket line then? Why is he the union president? Why is he focused on that his entire existence? If he's a Democrat and Democrats and the Republicans signed they had a handshake deal to fuck everybody, then is he just gone rogue? Is he the true maverick, ma'am?
Sit around in their universities and confer plaudits on each other, and then they say, oh, if you...
Ooh, plaudits. Them's them little bugs with the teeny little legs or whatever. They don't bite, but they crawl on you when you sleep, and then they go up your nose. I heard that, like the average human being swallows 6 pounds of plaudits over the course of their life, and 13 pounds if they snore.
You don't have a credential, you don't deserve the American dream. That was Clinton, that was Obama. Everybody's going to go to college. Not everyone wants to go to college. And by the way,
yeah, that wasn't the point. It wasn't everybody going to go to college. Everybody who wants to go to college will have the ability to go to college. That ain't the same as everybody's going to go to college. There's a bunch of people who couldn't go to college. Fuck, hold on. I have a friend who would like to speak to you for a minute, ma'am. Yeah, so I wanted to go to college, but this was before Clinton. This was during Reagan and Bush won, and I couldn't afford it. So I didn't, and I went to work. Now, I would have loved to been able to do both. I would have loved to have been able to move out to L.A. and go to school out here and afford school out here. And while I was acting and starting my career and all that stuff, it would have been fantastic. And as a matter of fact, what did I do? I took the money that I earned doing stand-up and other stuff, and I paid for extension courses at UCLA. And so I took screenwriting and editing classes. I took like an acting class they had at one point, which sucked. So I only went to the first 3 because it was terrible, but I went and I fucking paid for it with my own money. I didn't get a refund. That's for goddamn sure. I would have loved to have done both, but I couldn't afford it. So I just went to work. If the programs that Clinton and Obama had put into place were in existence when I'd done that, I would have been able to.
Most college-educated people are underemployed and still making more than working-class people. It's an absolute out.
What? They're underemployed and still working more than working-class people. Okay, first of all, this fucking moron has no idea how much truckers and like train engineers and staff and stuff make at all.
Wage. When they realized how much money there was in the knowledge industry, they increasingly started catering to those voters. Let me tell you something. 97% of donations coming out of Silicon Valley go to Democrats.
Right, because they need workers who are educated, and they may disagree with Democrats on taxation, for example, because they'd like to keep a lot more of their money, but they're never going to have enough workers who can do the high-tech work that will keep their companies afloat if dumbed-down Donald is in business all the time and shuts this shit down. What the fuck are you Of course they are.
The majority of Americans making over $500,000 a year are Democrats. 9 of the 10 richest counties.
Right. And that's Democrats' fault. Fuck are you talking about?
In this country now vote.
What? How about? Why isn't this a conversation about how Republicans keep their own voters poor?
For Democrats. And the majority of donations coming out of Wall Street went to Joe Biden and not to Donald Trump.
Right, because he almost destroyed the economy. They were already headed into a recession when he got into office. Even though they don't like Democrats for taxation, they know that the stable, focused growth and genuine understanding of what's going on is more valuable than some asshole who bankrupt a fucking casino.
Because these elites hate Trump because he represents the return of the middle class.
No, he doesn't.
The rise of the working class and the...
No, he doesn't. What rise? What rise?
Pride of the working class. That's what they hate and why they...
Okay. Pride I will give you. As a country boy, when I was growing up, nobody beat us for being full of shit and full of ourselves. And let me tell you, as a comedian, when you're starting out, you need 2 things. Say it with me, kids. You need 2 things when you're starting out as a comedian. Arrogance and stupidity. These are your 2 best friends. Because anybody, look, the difference between an amateur and a professional is an amateur can do anything a professional can do. A professional can just do it again tomorrow. But a comedian, unlike singing, unlike acting, any of these other things, as a comic, you only learn on stage. And so you have to believe you're going to make a group of people laugh professionally before you ever set foot on stage. That's arrogance. That is, and I will cop to it. Arrogance saved my ass when I was a kid. And ignorance, specifically the ignorance of being willfully dumb. Dumb is when you don't know. Ignorance is when you know better, but you do it anyways. And you act in a way that's kind of stupid because you have to. You want to get what you're going to like. It's a risk that's worth making, right? That's the point I'm trying to make. And so eventually that turns into confidence. Spend enough time on stage, you develop confidence. But in the beginning, arrogance and ignorance. And I got to say, being specifically a redneck set me up for that because I was surrounded, again, one of the biggest jokes you hear about the South, if you grow up there, and it's someplace that she's only spent time to write a fucking book. It's abundantly clear. One of the biggest, most common jokes you'll hear in the South is, what does a redneck say right before he dies? Check this out. Or watch this. There's a variance of the punchline, but you get the point. Hey guys, watch this. That's the, yeah. So point being, she's the female J.D. Vance. I don't know. She seems like the New York. You know what she seems like? You know that woman who wrote White Rage? No, it wasn't White Rage. It was the book on white privilege? I don't know. It was like this anti-racist book that was out for a while. And I read it. It was like, I can't remember the title of it right now, but it's like singularly one of the most racist books I've ever read in my life. It's fucking horrifying. But it was clear that this woman was shocked by her own racist thoughts. That when she sees a black person or a Hispanic person or an Asian person, she has thoughts that make her go, "Oh God, that was terribly racist." Like when she became aware of it, and instead of going, "My goodness, I might have to clean up the way I think," she didn't do that. She went, "Everybody like me, white." It wasn't white like me. Right. She was like, "Everybody who's white must think like I do." That must be how it goes. It's not that I have a personal problem. It must be that all white people think like I do. I can't possibly be racist by myself. This has to be kind of an undercurrent thing that we all have, which is fucking bullshit, by the way. And don't drag me into your personal hell, lady. But for the record, it like her book seems like this. This is like the white working class version of her. Like she's embarrassed by being a New York elite, it seems. Because I gotta say, if anybody's, that's ever been on the War Room has an NPR tote bag, it's this young lady. Yes? See what I mean? I'm not getting a sort of Daisy Duke vibe of it. She didn't tour around the fucking South and then have a Reese Witherspoon Lifetime movie moment where she's like, "I don't need all this city-fied living. I'm gonna..." Right. That, you know, that shit. So she's got, you know, they always talk about like liberal guilt as the driving force for why people want, I don't know, decent social programs and the like, some bullshit. This seems like she's got elite guilt. Yeah.
They write this stuff, this drivel. They can't.
Again, at least tell us whether you read it or not.
Not stand the idea that people who work with their hands for a living should have dignity.
What in there you can see it.
She's got a very Marianne Williamson stare right now. This kind of like mad about something that you're not sure you're mad about or why you're mad
The
about
fix is in because they're in back of this book. This book,
Yes.
these guys are everywhere, right? You see this?
Well, but see, in a way, you gave them the playbook because you said in 2015 they're going to be talking about racism all day and we're going to win with economic populism.
Yes.
And this is what I wanted to ask you. I wanted to ask you, first of all, how did you know that? How did you come to this insight that the working class is where it's at? And B, how did you convince Trump?
Well, Trump can read a room. I mean, President Trump, you could see in 12 and 13 was coming to CPAC. And I met with him in 2010 with Dave Bossie. He has a great feel for people. Remember, he's a people person and he's a marketer. He knows, and he has a great. He also comes from Queens. I mean, he just has a great instinct. When I first saw him making these speeches early on of the CPAC where Dave Bossie set these things up, he was not talking with the nomenclature or the rhythm or the structure of the other Republicans. He was talking in a totally new vernacular, and people would lean into it. And I said, right there, you're seeing a change in American politics. President Trump understands. He you know, Shaw says only connect.
Hold on. I found a copy of this book. Let's jump into this real quick. This is just the sample of it that you can read on Amazon. Small Towns, Big Trouble. This is the first chapter, or the prologue. So that'll give us a little bit of an idea, okay? Let's see. Blow that shit up. I'm going to zoom it in a little bit because it's a little small on this page. There we go. Friend Jason Aldean recorded a song praising small-town values, and the radical left has canceled him for it. Why? Because they want every town in America to look like socialist disasters in California and New York. This was the beginning of a fundraising email for the National Republican Congressional Committee in July 2023, responding to the controversy over Try That in a Small Town, the single that country star Aldean had recently released. The song's lyrics is a list of alleged liberal urban horrors, people spitting in cops' faces, robbing liquor stores, burning American flags, as well as the specter of gun confiscation, and they issue a challenge. Well, try that in a small town, see how far you make it down the road. Aldean, whose oeuvre is heavy with well-worn tributes to rural life, was not canceled. In fact, his fantasy of vigilante violence meted out against urbanites, supposedly ready to bring their criminal mayhem to the idol of rural America, became his greatest success. Conservative media defended him, Republican politicians praised him, and Try That in a Small Town became Aldean's biggest crossover hit, shooting to #1 on the Billboard Hot 100. Had Aldean released his ode to resentment and vigilantism a decade earlier, it might not have made the news, let alone become the controversy it did. But coming out when it did, with hostility between rural and urban America intensifying as the country headed into a presidential election that promised an even more profound division between the two, the song was bound to produce a fiery reaction. For Republicans, it was a gift, yet another implement they could use to convince their rural supporters that Blue America was a socialist disaster to be feared and hated. The criticism the song received from liberals only reinforced this point. That's where I'm always telling, like, look for the hook, kids. I know you see the worm, but look for the hook. Oh, thanks, Diana. The undercurrents that produced this controversy are the reason we wrote this book. We stand at what may be the most dangerous moment for American democracy since the Civil War. So this is where we get what Bannon said about the book, because he perused the prologue. Because I always love when people talk about a book on a show, and then if you look at the first, like, 2 pages or the dust flap, and you'll see them, like, they have just quoted it in their own words or picked or repeating chunks of it verbatim, not what's in the actual depth of the book, but actually just the first thing you see when you pop it open on the front. It's like it's so fucking on the nose. A great deal of attention has been bestowed upon rural whites since Donald Trump's ascension in 2016, yet the discussion has overlooked a vital political truth this book hopes to illuminate. The democratic attachments of rural white Americans are faltering. Rural America has suffered greatly in recent decades. Layered atop cultural resentments that are nearly as old as our country, this suffering has produced powerful antipathies that are aimed not just at certain groups of Americans, but often at the American democratic system itself. Were rural white Americans as disempowered as they believed themselves to be, their anger would be impotent. They would mutter, try that in a small town to themselves, indulging in meaningless fantasies of revenge against liberals and urbanites they despise, but they are not disempowered. In fact, in critical ways, they have more power than any other large demographic group in America. This power has already destroyed the outcomes of our system's produces, leaving us in an age of minority rule in which, to take just one example, the party that won fewer votes in 7 of the last 8 presidential elections managed to assemble an activist 6-3 supermajority of the Supreme Court, one that is now busy making the laws that all of us live under to conform with right-wing policy vision that overwhelming majorities of the public do not share. This, and by the way, this is exactly what she was talking about this sort of consensus idea that we all kind of believe in this normalcy, like we're pro-gay, but the trans agenda stuff, all that shit she's talking about, that's like the middle of the road that everybody buys in on, right? That's the point they're making. This is white rural rage, the threat to American democracy. This minority rule is a consequence of a disproportionate power wielded by rural whites, power that is often justified on the right by the insistence that these are the worthiest Americans, the ones that possess the most possessed of virtue and values, and that therefore it is only proper that their votes count for more. And again, in the Senate, they do. And they lose out in the Electoral College, but in the Senate, states that have fewer people in them than some suburbs in bigger states have 2 senators. If the states couldn't qualify as a state unless they had a certain population in them, sort of another variation on how the House works, we wouldn't even be talking about this shit. The fact that their votes do count for more is why Donald Trump became president in the first place. Also, because faux-gressives and weak-kneed Democrats phoned it in an election, and Hillary Clinton lost the Electoral College. Don't get me started again on that one. We should regain the White House. It will be rural whites who return him there. Yet, even as the threat to American democracy Trump represents has become the subject of enormous concern and debate, few have connected that threat to its essential source, rural white America. Name a force or impulse that threatens the stability of American political system, distrust in the fairness of elections, conspiracy theorizing, the embrace of authoritarianism, and it's almost always more prevalent among rural whites than among those living elsewhere. Even as they are in some ways the greatest beneficiaries of democracy's distribution of influence, rural whites are the least committed to our system. While at various times in American history, some extraordinarily creative and progressive movements began in rural areas, today most of rural America is gripped by a right-wing politics that is angry when it should be constructive and passive when it should be engaged. To many, the most cynical and malevolent characters in the political world, this is all part of the plan. Keep rural Americans bitter, and they'll be easily manipulated force of destruction when democracy doesn't produce the proper results. The worse rural Americans feel, the better this plan works. The devastating force of late-stage capitalism has inflicted enormous damage on rural Americans. Okay, this is where we're at. That's why he picked this. He views this as Steve Bannon views this as a socialism screed. Anybody who says late-stage capitalism, that's a red flag. That is the window through which they say this, that capitalism is dying, and that these people are mad because this would arguably be the Bernie Sanders argument from 8 years ago. Yeah, that's why he picked it. That's why this book, as opposed to anything else about how they vote, right? And the solution, I don't know that there is one. Resource economies where powerful interests extracted wealth and left people who toiled to remove it with little or nothing for decades of labor, manufacturing jobs. Okay, for the record, she sides with this book. This book is her, but for a few buzzwords is where she goes. Just saying. Okay.
He had just a visceral connection with working class people, and you could see it every time he went. Tell you, let's
Bullshit. They liked the fact that he was racist towards the right people, this particular group. And the fact that you want to talk about just being dismissive of the white working class. Understand this. The fucking maggots that show up at his rallies are not the white working class, and they're not even, I would argue, emblematic of the rural white working class. That's his assumption. That's this motherfucker as an elite saying that the people who can afford to drive in a fucking Winnebago across the country and go to dozens of Trump rallies, or the fucking people at the villages, or the people who have boat rallies for this dumb motherfucker, or people who bitch about how much groceries cost but have 19 Trump flags hanging off the back of their fucking truck, that those people are indicative of Eastern Kentucky or hyper rural parts, the edges of Wichita and places like that. Get the fuck out of here. The people that show up like are like the Chip Roys of rural whites. They dress the part. They wear fucking cowboy hats. They all drive pickup trucks, and they drive their pickup truck to fucking Target.
take a short break. We hear the book, and your book's going to come out in about a month, I think it is.
April 2nd, yeah.
April 2nd. I've got a lot. In fact, if we can play, maybe get the AOC was chased around. Because you're from Brooklyn. You're from the heart of the beast.
What'd I tell you? She's from Brooklyn. That's exactly it. It's the same as that lady who wrote the fucking anti-racism book that was the most racist thing I've ever read. That's exactly it. She grew up in Brooklyn, like upper class and all this stuff, and somehow is selling this idea that she knows what fucking rural whites went through. And half these motherfuckers, and this is, let me see if I can, I'm going to bring up something. Hold on. Let's see. Let's see. Let's see if I can find this one. Da, 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 da. Go away. Go away. No, they don't. Why don't they have a picture? Son of a bitch. Let me show you a little story real quick, if I may. The Great Winter Flood, December 1978. I was 8 years old. A massive winter flood that struck Frankfurt in December 1978 was the worst the state capital had seen. According to the National Weather Service, the Kentucky River crested at a record 48.74 feet, a full foot over the crest of the Great Flood of 1937. More than half of downtown Frankfurt was flooded, forcing around 1,000 people to flee their homes. In addition to the Kentucky River, the Salt River in Shepherdsville, South Fork Licking River in Cynthiana, Rolling Fork in Boston, and Green River in Munfordville all had record flooding. 5 people were killed and damages exceeded $50 million, which is like the cost of the whole fucking place. This is from the flood of 1997, but this is what it looked like where I was during that time. Let's see if I can find pictures of it. Let's see. Let's see. See if I can get images. Try to find old pictures because let's see. Let's see. Well, there's this, I don't know, this is a realtor.com picture. Okay. This is, as in the actual one, though. Hey, wait a second, though. Here you go. I'll show you something. This is my church when I was growing up. This is Peaks Mill Christian Church. It's a very nice picture of a little white steeple church. That extension was built in the 80s. When I lived there when I was a kid, it was just this part. on the other side is the cemetery. The Peaks Mill Cemetery is there. I don't know what if I get another pictures. We're gonna here's this is where I grew up. This is what it looks like when it rains heavily and the river comes up. Yeah, a lot of houses like this. A little closer to this when I was growing up there. Yeah. Oh yeah. Here's the peak. This is the Peaks Mill Christian Church cemetery. And this is Old Peaks Mill Road right here. This is basically what my neighborhood was like growing up. If I wanted to go like visit a friend, I don't know, that's in Frankfurt a long time ago. It was a walk. So I had a friend named Jonathan who lived close to Frankfurt, and I met him when they started busing me into the city, and if I wanted to go see him and hang out, and my parents weren't home, and this is no cell phone, no nothing, right? No, this pre-beeper, right? I would walk this road about 12 miles. This is that there was a if you go into Frankfurt and back out to his house, it was a long way. But if you took one of the country roads straight through, it was almost a straight shot, and I could walk 12 miles. It was basically like after they dropped me off from school, I could just start walking, and I'd be there before sundown. We had a horse, but our neighbor had a horse, but I couldn't like take it out or something. That's not, that's somewhere else. Yeah, this is a house on Old Peaks Mill Road. This is what most of the area look like. If you look at the houses around here, this is what you'd see: a house and a barn, or oh, okay. This house, we used to drive by this house all the time. It had a mill attached to it. If this is the same one, because it looks like it. The last of one of the tribes that was in the area was killed from that window. Long story, but they shot out of that window. Yep. These are big areas. Yeah, there's the old mill. Look, I get a Peaks Mill t-shirt. Isn't that nice? Peaks Mill. We're not in the middle of nowhere, because that'd be somewhere. That's more Lexington. And this is the creek. This is Elkhorn Creek. This was behind my house. This is where I saved, over the course of the time I lived there, 7 people from drowning. That was a record. You're welcome. One, I actually did 2 at a time. I was swimming with, they were having a chili cook-off at the house, in the field next to our house, and everybody was gathered there. And I didn't do CPR on this one. That was in the city. That was in town at the pool. But a friend of my dad's had a daughter and a son. The son was 8, I think, and his daughter was 10, and I was her age. And we were all swimming, and you weren't supposed to swim over in this area because, well, I think it's like this shot's reversed. But effectively, you had one of these little turnarounds, which it looks like nothing, but there's a drop off there. It's like a hole it's like a sinkhole underneath it. And you can kind of just sit there and the water runs across. The water's very shallow, and then there's places where you can swim, but then there are these other places that are basically just like a well almost. And if you fell in, it would roll you. You'd bump your head on the side. A lot of people drown that way. So get ready. This is one of the most Jesus-y moments in my young country life. True story. So we're swimming, and the little brother gets too close to that edge, and I'm yelling at him, and she runs over and grabs him, and by the arm, and he goes like this, and he falls in and just vanishes into the water. And she jumps in after him, and I'm like, don't! And I run over there. There's nobody around, and I yell at the house, but nobody can hear me because they're playing bluegrass. And like if I go up there and I get back, they're done. So I, like a crazy person, dive straight in because I know the size of that hole, and I figure it's the three of us in there. We could push each other kind of up and out that way or whatever as kids. This is my thinking at the time. So I dive in there, and I can see in the water when I get close to them, she's holding him like this. She just got him in her arms like this. I was 10. She's got her arms around him like this. I might have been 11, just turned 11. And I put my arm, or I'm trying to put my arm in her because he's just doing this, whatever. So I can't grab him, but I try to shove my arm down into her arm to get a hold of her to try and like get up enough to like pull us up. And I'm feeling around, just splashing at fucking water like this. And I'm like, we're going to drown. I remember very distinctly going, we're going to drown. And I'm holding her arm like this. And I'm like, Jesus help me. So it was bad. Again, I went to the Peaksville Christian Church. I was an irritant in Sunday school because I read the Bible twice all the way through. And I was like, God, I need your help. Please, Jesus, please help me. Please help me, whatever. And I kept reaching up like this. And I grabbed what turned out to be the root of one of the trees that was there and had like that was where it was one of these guys over here. And it was just sticking out enough where I could get my arm in it and slide forward like that. So I had her and this, and then I just did this. I was just like shaking my little fucking skinny body, and I was like this. And as I pulled up, our heads came up out of the water like this, and they could breathe or whatever. And I grabbed the other limb like this, or the root rather, that was sticking out of there like that with this other arm. And I was just basically like the force of my hands being pulled apart was kind of like squeezing me on the wood like that. And I was just like fucking gulping air, and she pushes him up and he rolls out onto the flat part of it. And then she like followed him out and I'm like this, and she starts yelling at him about, you almost got us killed. And I'm like, hey, I'm still fucking here. And I'm like, they're not going to help. So I just was like, it was almost funny. And I put my arms around like this, and I just locked like that. And I just put my leg up onto the side of the, like where the kind of the crest of that hole was, and just rolled myself up and came up. And my arm was all scuffed and scarred in here for weeks. And and we all walked up to the house, and my lips were blue because I was skinny and my lips always get blue when I was swimming. But my mom was like, no, you can't go in the creek anymore. Your lips are blue. And I was like, that's not the half of it. And I started crying because I was all adrenalized and afraid. And then they told everybody what had happened. And there was a big hoopla, like for he's a jolly good fellow for me or whatever. And I was like crying and smiling at the same time. I was like, it's time you go be in. Oh, all right. Will do. It's Tom Y. Okay, good. Thank you. Yes, I will. Fantastic. Thanks, T2 Baseball. I asked you before if it was actually you, and it is you, and that's awesome. Oh, I insist. Okay, will do. I'll take you out to dinner. You'll get your 20 bucks back. Anyways, that basically was. It wasn't at this point in the creek, because where we were, there was a lot. It was further up here. I think I can't really judge from where this angle is, but it looked. We had way more trees, like tall trees. This wasn't flat. The Kings, Susan Kingsley and her husband had a farm across from us, across the creek, and so they had a big wall of trees, and that's what it would have been on the other side. And ours are, but we had that too. It was also how my buddy Mike Brewer almost drowned, and I went in after him and dragged him out, and that was scary because we hit a drop off we weren't expecting. We were just swimming. We were like wading, swimming, and we both fell in. We just like went out to swim like this, and then it was like way too fucking deep, and we both sunk. And I remember looking over at him underwater, and he was breathing in water, and I was like, if I don't learn to swim, we're both dead. This was before that. This was when I was 8. But this is the part of the country. I mean, this is what Peaks Mill looks like. This, if you really want to know, this is what this. But from a hill. This is, yeah. This is what the area I grew up looks like. Meanwhile, this Brooklyn lady wants to tell me that I don't fucking know what, that I'm part of the elite democratic group of people that doesn't understand the white working class. The fuck out of here, lady. Just a little backstory. Just fucking, see my high school picture? I don't know that I have one. You know what? I'll dig it up. I missed most of my high school pictures because I didn't like my face. That's true. I would not show up for a lot of pictures because I didn't like my face. Yeah. So, anyways, all right. So that was the end of that lady. Again, and by the way, chat room, love you guys. There you go. Nikki might win Vermont. That would be awesome. Wouldn't be surprising. Be good. How much time oh shit, I went well over, didn't I? Good Lord. This became a big one. Okay, well, I'll let you guys go. I hope that was informative and interesting and the like. And Tom, I will give you a call. And I will see you very soon, I hope. That would be awesome. I don't blame Brooklyn for Batya at all. Not at all, for the record. Yeah, hope you all voted. Absolutely. Where's Chip? I don't know. Shall I go try to find Chip? Talk amongst yourselves. Let me see what I can do. To see today. This is Maddie. Maddie's here. Maddie was laying on the couch upstairs. Molly's really hard to grab because she doesn't like it, but Chip is he was he was laying there and I could have grabbed him, but we don't get to see Molly as often, or Maddie as often. So there she is. She's such a sweet girl. Yeah. She's such a pretty girl. She's gorgeous. She's a little stupid, but she's gorgeous. Just saying. She's a beautiful girl. Yeah, you're right. Is that right? There you go. She's just so relaxed, too. She's very chill. And she'll just lay there and let you pat her. Yeah. Right. Nice. So, there she is. Aw. Yeah. How you doing? You doing, sweet girl? You okay, Maddie? Yeah. What's going on? She's seeing the text go by. She doesn't know what that is, so she's watching the chat go by. Yeah. She's such a relaxed cat. It's so great. You're so wonderful. You're such a wonderful girl. You're so lovely. She's so lovely. And she's a cuddler, too. She's also a ball stepper. This is the one that stomps my balls on the regular. She walks right back and forth across them on the regular all the goddamn time. It's brutal. But we love her anyways. And if you scratch her belly, she starts making cookies, but with nails. So that's even better, because then there are holes in your arm. Look, she's starting to do it. She's starting to reach out with her other paw. See her paw down here? She started to reach out like, Yeah, I should put lots of little holes in your arm. Yeah. So anyways, love you guys. Like, subscribe, give a thumbs up, support the show. Help keep us all, fed and insured here and all that kind of stuff, because this is the job now. This is the gig, folks. Also, just if you can't afford to help the show or become a Patreon, that's totally cool. I love you anyways. Just subscribe and share the show. Help anything you can do that's that's free is welcome. Just a floppy girl. She's like, I'm exhausted and you pick me up. I'm gonna fall asleep right here. Oh, sweetie. Yeah. She's such a good girl. She's such a sweetie. Okay, hold on. I need this other arm. I gotta hold on. I've gotta try. I just have to click one thing and we'll be fine. Okay.